Stop. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? As always, the link, and I think today's link is gonna be okay. It's gonna be the actual link to the image that we're gonna use today. Is going to be in the video description. So if you want to download that image and work alongside us, that would be awesome. You don't have to do it, you can just watch, but it may help you kind of gauge, all the stuff that I interpret. I would say that I heavily interpret all my reference photos. So you can see how far away I stray from the photo, or what things I keep, and then what things I sacrifice, and what sort of elements I kind of hold on to and try to emphasize. For today, we said goodbye to yesterday's, I think it was yesterday's Superstar. I think that color really saved the painting yesterday. But I ran out of it, so I don't have any more colors. So we can't use any more bismuth yellow. So we said goodbye, and we're using just my regular palette. Titanium white, yellow ochre, cad red, alizarin. This up here is nice alizarin, which I ran out of also. And down here is cheap alizarin. So I try to put cheaper one, instead of just really digging into the little bits that I have that are more expensive. Just to get used to the fact that I'm going to have to use the cheaper one for a while until I get some of the nicer one. Ultramarine blue. This one's kind of, nice. I don't know. I mean, it's a Michael Graham, and like this whole tube is like $20. So, make what you want out of that. It's, it's pricey, but not really. So, and raw umber, cheap raw umber. So my colors are not expensive. These two are Michael Grahams. This is a fast drying titanium white. So that's like $20, $20. That's also $20, but that's a smaller Winsor Newton cad red. So it's a smaller tube. So that one is probably more expensive than the other ones. And then, these three are maybe $3 each. Honestly, $4 at most each. So, those are cheap colors. So it's a blend of everything. I have some saturation. I have earth tones, very cool and very cool colors. And it's somewhat, somewhat nice colors, a nice color, cheap colors. So it's a mutt of a palette, but I think it's going to be very nice. So what are we going to do today? What am I going to do? You guys can interpret the photo, however you want. This is about painting alongside, but it's not really about having to mimic or to echo whatever I'm doing. So don't worry. This is not like a how to do a painting. This is more of I'm going to let you know what I intend to do. And then, like yesterday, I intended on doing something, and then the painting sort of swerved on a different direction. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm doing. And it worked out. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm going to try to do a very kind of close in value painting. I'm going to try to, kind of smush the values a little bit together so that there's not a lot of contrast. Reason I'm doing that is because when I look at the photo, and you guys can look at it right now, I just see like a very pinkish, grayish hue just really all over my mother, all over my mother. It's like a pink gray, a very light, very cool pink, gray. And sure, there's, difference in light and shadow. And for example, when she's put against the background, you can tell that the background, and that's very evident on the left side of the image, the background is actually lighter. So, I am aware that there's, a difference in contrast. For example, the higher contrast would come in the moment that the darkest part of the hair meets the lightest part of that background. And I'm going to sacrifice some of that contrast. So that means that the hair is probably not going to be as dark as it should be, as it should be, quote unquote, because, if you're trying to be faithful to nature. But I'm going to sacrifice that in order to have just this big mass of like pinkish gray. And it's not an accent. Like yesterday, I think the yellow was like a hue accent in that painting. But I love that little bit of blue. I don't have like the perfect, teal to paint that and to make it like pop. But I'm going to see if I can control the rest of my painting, which is going to be hard because to make that that kind of mauvey, light mauve. What a weird color. But I remember that color when I used to be an illustrator and I used to work with markers. And there was this marker that was mauve. And I was like, oh, I like this color. But anyways, so it's this light kind of purpley, kind of red violet, very cool light color. I'm going to have to use blue to paint that. So when I introduce blue and yellow for that little square in my mother's scarf, it's not going to really pop because I've been using blue throughout the colors that are surrounding it. So it's not going to be like a super nice accent of complementaries, or I'm not going to be able to use like saturation. I don't want it to pop too much because if the objective is to just keep everything like under control, I don't want this little square just kind of coming out of the picture. So I have to really control the painting. So I think that's going to be the theme for today. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to use some of the brushes that I used in the morning that I was painting. And I didn't clean them, so they're kind of, you can tell, like, they're dirty. And I don't mind that. And I'm not going to use an underdrawing, and I'm not using anything, for primer. I'm not using anything to ground, like an imprimatura. There's no color ground. This is, again, an unbound moleskin, spread. And I'm not going to use any medium. So, we're not going to use our, not yours, maybe you guys don't like this, but I'm not going to use the liquid, the alkyd medium, just to show you guys that it really doesn't matter. And I think this painting doesn't really need a lot of medium, but what it means is that I'm going to have to use more paint because I can't kind of like spread it, but I have to be very intelligent because I don't want to put way too much paint initially. But we're going to start like yesterday, just big mass of color. And I think that's going to be pretty cool. And that big mass of color has to be pretty close to what I intend to paint because that's going to dictate a lot of like the direction of the painting. So we have to try and not hit it. I mean, I don't put pressure on myself to say, oh my God, this has to be like a perfect color, like right from the start. But I have to be close to what I want. This is going to determine a lot of what my image is going to look like. So.
Prismatic pregunta, dice great reference photo. Who is it of?
Oh, that's my mother. Yeah. So, for this week, if you guys have noticed, I've painted. Oh, by the way, I'm going to do what I did yesterday. This is kind of like echoing a little bit of the rhythm that yesterday's painting had. So we can build from that rhythm. There was a lot of beautiful things about the yesterday's photo that I really liked. But anyways, so I'm going to try to use, like I said yesterday, like all of the real estate of the, of whatever proportions of my piece of paper are. Sometimes they don't quite match with the photo reference. It doesn't matter. And if I have to distort a few things just to make it kind of fit, just to kind of shrink it and fit it, I'm totally fine with that. This is my mother. So this week, I usually sometimes, right? I usually paint from images that other people share with me. They're totally cool with me painting them, but I wasn't feeling comfortable doing that this week. I'm sure that a lot of the people that have shared their photos with me would have been totally fine by me just painting them, but I just didn't feel comfortable because I'm the one who's deciding to share the photos. So it just didn't feel quite right. You know, it felt kind of weird if I was sharing a photo of somebody else. I mean, somebody else in the sense that they're not close to me. So I know that Danny won't mind when I shared Fer's photo. I don't mind. I'm sure her mother doesn't mind. And this is my mom, and I think she's gonna be fine. She would be the first person to say, just make me beautiful. So if you're gonna paint her, just, you know, guys, you have to bring your A game today. She's gonna be really disappointed. You know, she doesn't look forward to many things in life anymore. And you could destroy her if you don't paint her, you know, really nice today. So it's on you guys. This is all on you. I mean, she's already used to me painting her terribly, so that's not going to be surprising to her. But if you guys, you know, a bunch of strangers, are not doing a good job, you know, might as well bury her right now. It's sad. Right before Christmas, could be a, you know, family tragedy. So it's all on you. No pressure, but, you know, bring your A game.
Julian says, hello, do you leave the paper
Hello.
paintings as they are, or do you assemble them back into a book?
Oh, no, I just leave them like these. And because we are making these available, so we can't just make the like bind together again like the sketchbook. So no.
No están solo saludando.
Bueno, saludamos.
¿Te doy nombres para que? No sé si quieras decir si alguien tiene preguntas.
No. You guys already know that if you have any questions, you can just chime in and just say anything anything that pops into your head. That's totally fine. Even if it sounds like, even if it's a dumb question, there's no dumb questions. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to ridicule anyone. So this value is actually working, but I think it's a little too much. So I'm going to tone that down a little bit because I want to, like I said at the beginning, I want to see if I can bring those values a bit closer together. So we're probably not going to hold on to that color, that really nice kind of creamy yellowy color that the moleskin has. I'm going to save, you know, or maybe I can hint it now just to see if we're getting close, we can get close to that. Again, it's not going to be like this beautiful blue and, you know, greenish blue, I guess, or blue-green, better. Because, you know, it's a blue made out of yellow ochre and ultramarine blue. So I think that's going to be close to what I want. So that's good. That's actually pretty good. And yeah, so I'm going to lower that value a little bit. I'm going to keep the hue, but I'm going to lower the value just a little bit.
Michael asks,
Hey, Michael.
Do you ever worry where you put the reference on the paper or canvas?
Do I ever? How do you mean, Michael? I didn't quite understand. Like the composition, like where I place, or I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, maybe you think that this is an actual photo. No, there's no photo here. You know, I'm looking at my cell phone that it's off to the left. So, but forgive me if I didn't understand the question right. Or si quiere preguntar en español, no sé si quiere preguntar. Okay, no.
David D.O. Pregunta, have you ever used clear gesso on paper? I personally like the texture it gives.
Yeah, I this is what I used to use to prime my sketchbook. When I did my sketchbook project that we did, I don't know how many paintings. It was probably like 300 pages of sketchbook. I use this PBO, acrylic binder. It's a transparent acrylic binder, which is pretty much the same thing as transparent gesso. Yeah, and it's really nice. It was a tube like this. I had to cut it because I forget. Oh yeah, because I just wanted to get to the, I wanted to scrape the most I could out of it. I love this stuff. Like this one is 13,800 pesos, Colombian pesos, which is kind of like $4, not even. So this is very, very cheap, and I used to be able to get it, and I used to be able to find this in like tons and tons of tubes in the store. And every time I would go to the store, and it wasn't like an art store, like a really nice art store. It was like a Michael's. It's like a craft store that has everything. And I used to be able to find it, and then they stopped importing it. So I was like, oh my God, this thing that I love is gone. And I was so used to painting with it. Like I said, probably 99% of the paintings that I did for that sketchbook project were painted on pages of a sketchbook, of a bunch of sketchbooks that were primed with that transparent binder. And I loved it. But, it just goes to show you that you can't really get used to something, because when it's gone, it's like, if you construct your whole painting practice based on this one material, then, as soon as, for whatever reason, they stop bringing it here, then you are done, And I could try and buy it from the internet, but it's so expensive. It's so expensive, so I refuse to pay more than what I used to pay for it. I would feel so stupid. And the thing is, it's not like it's so necessary that I would do it. It's just that I feel that nothing is necessary. I really feel that I don't really need, like today, right now I'm feeling I don't need medium. We started with no medium, and I am convinced now, which just putting, some paint down, that it's absolutely unnecessary. So, of course I'm going to sacrifice a bunch of stuff by not having medium. It's a little too dark. But I'm aware of it, so I'm fine with those sacrifices. So I know that I'm not going to be able to glaze something. I won't be able to kind of scumble something either. And that's totally fine, I can live without that.
Michael was explaining the question.
Okay.
He said, yes, the composition, just some artists use triangles or the 2/3 thing.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't use formulas. I don't think that's, I know that formulas work, because that's why they're formulas. They wouldn't be formulas if they didn't really work. But I like to think that that there's nicer ways to compose things that don't really have to do with something that has been done, and that it's not really our job to perpetuate that sort of information. That is done. That it's there's examples of all those fantastic compositions that are built on those philosophies or like visual cues throughout history. That's totally fine. I'm not really denying that. Some of my favorite paintings are probably built upon those very principles. But I try to tell myself that it's very nice if a painting is just born from its own needs, or it just answers to its own needs, instead of accommodating what I want to do to kind of these really strange laws that I don't want to be beholden to them. I don't want them to dictate what my painting is supposed to look like. So I just try to then find I guess a happy medium where that's probably knowledge that I hold like in the back of my brain, but I don't subject my paintings to it. And I just hope that some of those experiences that I've had probably constructing those paintings, or probably constructing paintings based on those rules, because I probably have. I mean, I don't know if I've literally have done like a concerted effort in trying to really build paintings based on, you know, all these geometric kind of laws, kind of canons, but I'm sure that many of my paintings accommodate to those things because my visual kind of dictionary is probably full of paintings that, you know, are indeed constructed in that way. So I'm sure that has sort of spilled into my, you know, my practice. But nowadays I try to be more kind of organic, I guess, or more instinctive with it, in order to be able to pay attention to what I'm doing, and in order to think that what I'm doing is flexible enough that I can make a ton of changes, or I can change, you know, I can take the painting, you know, to different directions based on what is happening also, instead of what I just have to do, or, you know, what I'm supposed to do based on these canons. So, you know, anything that can help me be more flexible, I'm going to, any opportunity that I can, you know, kind of seize to be more flexible, I'm going to do that.
I bought some sort of thick sketchbook for oil painting. What kind is your paper? Should I paint directly on the paper or put something on top beforehand?
You should. I would invite you to do both. You know, the more traditional process of painting would say, yeah, you should prime your paper, because, you know, you should prime every single surface that you paint on top of. That's just how things are done, and that way you're protecting the surface, and you are not guaranteeing, but giving it the best chance for longevity, giving it the best chance to remain somewhat consistent through the passage of time. And the reason for that is that paper is very porous. Paper fibers can actually very, very quickly absorb whatever you put on top of them. So when you're painting, you know, these pigments, like especially if you have heavy metals on your pigments, not so much earth tones, but, you know, oil will seep into your paint. For example, cadmium is a heavy metal, and that will seep into the paper, and that can have, you know, eventually that can have not beneficial effects on the paper's fibers. So, you know, ideally what you want is to seal your paper so that it's protected from, you know, all these things that you paint with. Right now, for example, I'm minimizing those risks, if you want, because I'm not using medium, I'm not using solvent. So because I decided to not use any of those things, well, those two things are, you know, not going to be part of my practice, and, you know, therefore they're not going to be able to affect my painting. But still, you know, oil and pigment are going to indeed affect the painting. How are they going to affect it? You know, and how long will it take for them to ultimately, you know, destroy the paper? I'm not sure. I don't know anyone. I don't know if anyone could be, you know, if anyone could ascertain as to how long it would take. And I always point to people that I respect, you know, to artists of the past that I just really, really respect, and whose work I adore, and whose work I enjoy looking at in museums and collections, and I've seen throughout the world. You know, for example, Toulouse-Lautrec, he painted on cardboard. And I've always said that, you know, I've always pointed out that cardboard from the 19th century, you know, or late 19th century, early 20th, was far more acidic than anything that we kind of do produce nowadays. So the paper itself was actually very fragile, or cardboard, you know, same thing. But those images, you know, after over 100 years, they're pretty fine. They're in pretty good condition. Like, granted, when you go to a museum, you know, they're usually kind of exhibited in very dark rooms, and they make sure that there's no direct sunlight hitting them. So 100 years from now, you would have to, you know, take extra precautions if you buy one of my paintings. So just leave that in your will. Like, don't put this in the sun. Don't. It cost me like $250 when I was alive back in the 21st century. So please, you know, respect that. Come on. So yeah, I'm being sort of, I'm talking about this jokingly, but it's because I'm not really concerned about those things. But that's just me, and this is me, and I'm always honest about this. This is me after doing probably hundreds of paintings where I did prime my surface, where I did, you know, care about the, you know, the substrate in on which I was painting, where I did take care of all those variables. So yeah, this is probably born from love. So this is not just negligence. This is, you know, my attitude is probably born from respect and love. But, you know, I just don't want to do it anymore.
Nick asks, hey Nicolas, are you planning to release a high quality digital book of all the paintings you did this year? I wouldn't mind paying for something like that.
Not a digital book, because the digital book you could totally do yourself. And I'm saying that not just to say, hey, go do it. You know, I don't want to do that. You go do it. But part of what we do that is kind of cool is that we share every single image that we do. We share like high-res photos of every single image. Like, you could literally take that to a printer and make a, I don't know, quote-unquote professional book. So you could do that with all the images that we have linked all this year, throughout this year. And I wouldn't be pissed. Like, I'm totally fine. I won't come after anyone. Like, this is totally for real. Like, if you want to make a book of my work, you can totally do it. Some people are like shocked by that, but do you guys know that you can make a book out of other people's work that is posted on Instagram, and people wouldn't be able to say anything because those images are not yours? They don't belong to anyone. It's like, it's so crazy, but yeah, they don't. That's why Richard Prince did what he did, and that's how he could literally get away with it, you know, legally get away with it. So you know, it's kind of dumb for me to say, yeah, I'm gonna be pissed if anyone uses those images, but you know, but still, I have, I don't know, 1,000 posts on Instagram, and anyone could take any of those 1,000 images and say, I'm gonna do a book, dude, and you can't do anything about it. In fact, I think there is a book that somebody printed out, you know, based on the images of Instagram, and yeah, they're low res. You know, you can't print at a size that that is really nice, because those images, I think what are they, like 1,000 by 1,000 pixels? I forget how big an Instagram post is, but so yeah, so that's not really good for reproduction, but you could do it, you know. So honestly, if you want a digital book, like, you could totally do it. If you want a Giclée print of any of my paintings, you could totally do it, and I'm fine. If you want to make Giclées and sell them, I'm totally fine too. You know, more power to you. Like, if you find a business opportunity where I didn't find one, dude, go ahead, go nuts, go crazy. That's fine. But yeah, you guys can do that. What I would want, no, not really. I was gonna say, I would love to do a book eventually, you know, from just based on the project. But like I said, I've been scarred. I think I've been scarred for life with my last effort. So we did really well, but it was just, I don't know, shipping just destroyed me. And then just, you know, dealing with the people that, for, you know, whatever reason didn't get their books, it just makes me feel like shit, honestly. a horrible feeling that I have no control over. Like if I was the one who was shipping everything personally and somebody didn't get their books, like I know I could do something about it, but because this is somebody else's job and because it is in their hands entirely, and because for whatever reason it could be, a mix of their incompetence and COVID, and that's totally fine. A lot of places where we had to reship a lot of books were because those books were stuck in customs for a long time, and they didn't liberate them. And because they were in customs for a long time, sometimes they get shipped back. But with COVID, when they tried to ship them back, they just disappeared. I mean, so many things went wrong with not many books. Like the vast majority of people, I would say like 99% of people got their books eventually. But it's just too much. Like it was way too much stress for me to worry about those things. Like it was so hard work to just do the paintings that were in that book, and both Danny and I we designed the book, and we did everything in terms of the visual, the visuals and the kind of philosophy behind the way it was printed. That was super cool. That is a super nice effort, and we were proud of that. But when you don't have like a just an editorial kind of powerhouse behind you, or just somebody that can really take the weight off your shoulders and say, oh, I'm going to publish this, a nice publisher, and say, oh, don't worry, we'll publish it, we'll ship it, that's none of your concern, don't worry about it. But we didn't have that. So the only way I think that we would consider probably doing a book was if people were like interested in helping us out. But that part is honestly just really, really tough. So I don't know. Maybe I'll think about it, but I need more time to just recoup from that experience, because it wasn't cool. I mean, if there's anything that I think I've done well in my life, is just try to be honest about what I do, and really answer for everything that I do. If I'm part of a project, if I put my name, it's not about like your name as if my name means anything, but just my word, like me promising something, just it really does mean something to me. And for me to think that I can, that I disappointed some people because they couldn't get their books back, and I refunded everyone that has told me, like, I don't even check. Like, if people tell me, hey, I didn't get my book, what happened, I don't even check. I'm like, I'm so sorry, here's your money. And it sucks. It just sucks that, those cases have to be solved that way. It really pains me to do that. So yeah, it was just a tough experience, honestly. So it's a shame, because it was a really nice book, and I'm gonna come clean. Like it was a really nice book. Like we had 2 copies of it here, like Danny's copy and mine. And one day I got rid of mine because I told Danny, I was like, I can't, this book is just like painful for me. I'm not gonna take your copy and just get rid of it, but my copy is just it just reminds me of like people that were disappointed, and I was like, this is too much. Like, I don't want this anymore. So I got rid of it. I still have to look at the copy that Danny has, and I don't mind it. I don't mind the book as an object. Like, I could probably say goodbye to the project as a book, because I remember every painting that I painted there. I don't have the paintings anymore, but I remember everything that I did for that book. So I carry that with me. That kind of matters to me more than a book. And I guess that in that sense, that's why we were sure that we could share a lot of those images that we were producing, and it would be fine. Maybe it was like an answer to just being kind of saddened by that book, and saying, let's just share everything, and we could. There's so many opportunities to charge for everything that we do, that it just felt good to just say, hey, this is this is this is yours. Like, do whatever you want with it. Like, you guys can go nuts with it, and that's totally fine. So.
Have you ever gone wild without painting at all? If so,
What? Have I what?
have you ever gone a while?
A while. Oh, I thought, have you ever gone wild? Like, have you ever gone nuts and crazy? Like, balls to the wall, like, painting. Just get nuts, dude. A while without painting.
Not wild.
Sorry.
If so, what was that like to start again?
No, probably not. I mean, the most, I'm sure, it's if we go on vacations or something like that. But that's probably like, I can't afford to go on vacations for more than a week. So yeah, so that's not like a huge thing. So I would say most a week, for the last, what is it, 22 years maybe? Yeah, a week at most. Yeah, when I look back, I mean, this is nothing like to be super proud of. I mean, it is what it is, and that's it. But yeah, I would say probably a week. And no, it itches, dude. In my case, like, and again, this is not like, oh, I'm so like John Cena about this. Like, yeah, that was stupid. But it's not like I feel super, strong and powerful just saying like, dude, yeah, just, a week without painting, that's all I need. No, like it's just that's how my life has been. But it also means that it's that important to me in a way, it means that much to me. So, but the important part of that phrase is to me, this is not meant to say like, hey, if you stopped painting, like, if you have stopped painting for a month or 2 months, or if you felt like crap and you just can't find your way, and, if that takes you 3 months or 6 months or a year, dude, take your time. Like, take all the time you need. Like, our lives are completely different, I assure you. So don't even think that you should take my life as an example. I hope that you kind of understand that I'm just sharing what has been my life, but there are so many ways of doing this that in many ways that doesn't mean anything really. So don't ever feel bad if your life is just different than mine. That's how it's supposed to be.
Dentro de poquito voy a intentar convertir mi habitación en un estudio y a día de hoy no sé muy bien cómo grabar los procesos de pinturas bien. ¿Cómo lo tienes puesto tú?
Nosotros tenemos, de pronto Dani puede ahí, ahorita se va a demorar un poquito porque se tiene que mandar la foto a ella misma y después compartirla, pero nosotros tenemos una cámara que no es una cámara de video, o sea, no es una cámara específica de video, pero es una cámara, es una Sony Alpha 7 III y es una cámara bien bonita. O sea, digamos que esa es como la inversión más grande que hicimos para cuando empezamos el proyecto. Esa y un lente bonito. El lente es como de 55, es un f1.8, entonces pues digamos que en la apertura más grande deja entrar muchísima luz. Y la combinación de esas dos quiere decir que es muy buena cámara y lente para, digamos, la luz disponible. Luz disponible quiere decir que podemos trabajar con luz indirecta, que es como lo que estamos trabajando ahorita, ¿Y qué quiere decir luz indirecta? Que no hay ninguna luz iluminando la pintura. La pintura ahorita está toda iluminada con luz que no le está pegando directamente. Y eso es bueno porque si no uno tiene que lidiar con brillos ahí todos extraños, innecesarios, que naturalmente tiene el óleo. Entonces una luz indirecta hace que todo sea como un poquito más homogéneo. Y tenemos un trípode con un brazo, o sea, no es solo un trípode, sino el trípode tiene un brazo metálico que deja que entonces la cámara literalmente esté encima mía, y lo importante es que yo no meta la cabezota al pintar, que Eso es lo que normalmente hago cuando Dani tiene ¿qué? Que editar todos los videos. Ella tiene que sacar mi cabezotota todo el tiempo. Y ya. Y la verdad no usamos como la cámara, estamos usando como la cámara para digamos que muy poco. Es decir, parece un emoji. She looks like an emoji right now. Like a You know, she's picking Christmas presents, but they're too expensive. She's like, not really. I don't love my nephews this much. So, so, um, ¿qué está diciendo? Se me olvidó. Yo digo un chiste estúpido y se me olvida todo. Entonces,
Que no estamos usando la cámara al máximo.
sí, no la usamos al máximo. O sea, siempre grabamos en 1080. La cámara es fantástica en 4K, pero no usamos eso porque es que editar eso es pesadísimo. O sea, nosotros tampoco tenemos computadores así como para edición, que esa es la otra. Entonces, para Dani sería súper, súper difícil tener que editar videos y para, digamos, las herramientas que tenemos sería súper difícil manejar todo en 4K. No. Incluso grabamos como ahorita estamos grabando en un bitrate súper bajito. O sea, todo estamos haciendo como el mínimo, como para que no moleste casi. Y ya. Pero sí, básicamente sería una cámara buena, que no tiene que ser como la de nosotros. Obviamente hay cámaras que son más económicas que sirven perfectamente para eso. El celular incluso muchas veces sirve. Entonces no se preocupe por eso si no tiene, digamos, la inversión en la cámara pues la ve como muy alta. Y ya. Si quiere incluso comience por el celular. Yo creo que los primeros videos que hay en el canal, los que yo hice como solo mucho antes de que empezara a trabajar como con Dani, los hice con mi celu y pues me valía chimba, como que yo decía, bueno, lo importante es tratar de empezar a hacer videos y no importa. Y ya.
Creo que me quedó grande lo de la imagen porque no se puede compartir.
¿No?
No, me
Bueno.
tocaría subirla a Dropbox, pero si la subo de pronto se baja el bitrate.
Bueno, sí, no. La ponemos después. O yo la comparto. ¿Cómo se llama quien hizo la pregunta, perdón?
Sergi.
Sergi, entonces si quieres, al final del video comparto en una historia o mañana comparto en una historia como nuestro setup para que veas cómo es que trabajamos. No es muy glamoroso, pero pues funciona.
Because you have such big experience mapping out the painting, what do you do to challenge yourself?
But every single painting is challenging. Like, I'm not flying here, honestly. I want to make that like super, super clear. Like, this is tough for me. Trust me that if right now my drawing is all over the place. I know that. Right now I haven't really kind of started to develop like smaller areas of the painting, so I'm worried about those. But you know, this project, honestly, this whole year has been extra challenging. Even just painting, for example, today, painting live, speaking while painting, or just giving myself like different themes and different objectives while I paint, you know, week after week after week after week. Even coming up with those things, you know, all those things have been super, super challenging. Like, this is not something that either Danny and I had ever done before. So yeah, so I mean, I don't want to minimize what you said, or I'm not saying that you don't acknowledge those things, but I probably just want to emphasize that this is super tough. Like, I don't want any like sympathy for it either, but all I'm saying is like something that's, you know, very that I feel every single time that I sit down and paint, which is like, yeah, this is tough. Like, this is always frustrating, always tough. So
Hola, una pregunta. Por lo general
Hola.
las libretas Moleskine son bastante costosas en Colombia.
Sí, valen como 90.
¿Recomiendas otra marca de libretas donde se pueda pintar sobre el papel sin imprimatura previa?
Pues, ¿sabes qué? Voy a tratar del próximo año de pintar en Earthpact. Voy a tratar de conseguir solo Earthpact, que ese es un papel que se consigue solo aquí en Colombia, que es un papel que se hace de caña y digamos que el proceso es muchísimo más ecológico, porque pues no se usan blanqueadores y eso puede ser súper chévere. Y lo bueno de Earthpact es que lo consigues en gramajes distintos. Entonces, si te interesa, lo puedes, o sea, y creo que Earthpact, eso creo que es de Carvajal, pero puedes comprar directamente con ellos y eso es lo que yo voy a hacer porque en realidad lo único que uno necesita es que el gramaje del papel aguante. Entonces no te tiene que importar, o sea, no importa nada más. O sea, si el papel es grueso, normalmente eso es lo que uno necesita para estar tranquilo y para saber que va a aguantar las decisiones de pintura que uno tome. Entonces voy a hacer ese. Lo que pasa es que este año ha sido como difícil en cuanto a como conseguir ese tipo de cosas, pero seguro el próximo año me voy a poner en esas porque se me haría súper bonito que el proyecto como que tuviera ese carácter también local. Igual Carvajal es una empresa enorme, o sea, no es que estemos ayudando como ¿a qué? A la papelería de barrio que nos está surtiendo el papel, a la Bessie. Como Bessie me vende una resma para pintar, no. Pues igual, esa es una empresa gigante aquí, pero... ¡Ah!
Ever use printmaker's paper?
Oh, you mean like paper used for printmaking, like for etching and yeah. Of course, I have. That's the first thing I did ever as an artist or as the son of an artist that I was. I'm sorry that I'm taking time, but yeah, I don't like what I did there with the face. So I think I'm gonna cover it up. But yeah, it's great paper. I mean, you have to be extra careful with it because there's so much fiber to it. There's so much, a lot of those papers are 100% like cotton, so they're very sensitive to almost everything that you do. So you have to be super careful that you don't beat them up. They're not meant to be beat up. Like they're meant to be used very sensibly. So. But yeah, that's the first thing I did because my mother is a graphic artist. She did etchings and wood blocks, through her life. I mean, she's still alive, but she's not working anymore. But she was wonderful at that, and that's what she taught me, ever since I was very young. So.
Hi, thanks for live streaming. What was the most important lesson you learned at Art University if you went there?
Oh wow, most important. Let me think about that. I guess just the I guess the importance of answering to something, answering to this calling that, usually art makes to most of us that are, interested in it, but answering to that calling like responsibly. And what I mean by that is that we, for example, we set up like a painting group on Saturdays. And I wasn't, this perfect kid that just wanted to study and, go to painting class. No, I for sure went out like Friday nights, and I for sure would go out like Saturday nights. And I for sure, every time we had our Saturday painting, group, I was probably hungover, and it was, terrible to go to that, to that painting class that day. But we pushed so that we could do that. So we pushed our school that so that it would give us money for the models, and I guess that pushing, that's what I mean by answering to that kind of calling and doing it responsibly and taking advantage of the possibilities that a space like that has to offer. And it's not only a space, in terms of it being like an institution, but a space also where where it eventually became the space where I met a lot of like friends that I still hold dear and that are incredible artists, absolutely incredible artists. And I love them dearly. And, we spent together time in school, and, even if I haven't seen them for a while, like I could see them right now, and it would be super, super cool because we share things that we love. So I think taking advantage of those things, it's absolutely essential. So it's not so much the academic part of it, but, which is important, I guess, but just the life part of it, where you meet like-minded people, or people that, even though we could share the same things, we all loved the same things, we would just get into stupid arguments. Like some of my coolest memories are just going to a bar after class and just speaking about painting. And it's just dumb, but it was incredible back then. I loved it. I absolutely loved it because it slowly kind of helped art become part of your life. It wasn't just this thing that you did in school that you could end up hating if you don't understand it properly. You could end up just despising it or feeling resentful towards. And I never wanted that with art or with painting. As frustrating as it may be, and as hard as it could be at those moments, I always wanted to love that, to love and to kind of cherish those moments. So, yeah, I still miss that. I love talking, stupid things about art. So yeah, it's probably I would just say, hey, pay attention to those moments. I mean, yeah, you're supposed to have this gorgeous, beautiful life outside of what you do as an artist. But to me, there's no outside and there's no, it's not like you are doing art and then the other stuff doesn't belong to that world. I always wanted just my life to be one. I always wanted everything to just meet somewhere where I don't have to say, oh, I'm sorry, but I have to work and I have to put my painter hat on. No, I've always wanted to just live with the things that I love about art, always. I don't want like a special space to call a studio. I don't need it. I don't need to put special clothes on to paint. I don't need like for that space to be quiet no. Like my kids could be running in and out. Like they're not here right now. They're with their mother, but they could be running here while we're doing this live. And I would never be like, get out, what are you doing? Get out, I'm working. Like, no, that's crazy. So I just always imagined my life being one thing. And it was very, and I think we're kind of there, it's cool. I'm very grateful that I've been able to make all those worlds meet. And I guess they meet in me. So it's kind of nice.
Where is the best place or country you have been for art?
Oh, I wouldn't be able to say for art. I would have had to live there to understand, art communities and to understand how, artists are treated and, if there's a very active if there's a very active scene that you could, feed yourself, from day in, day out. So I haven't lived in a ton of places. I've traveled to a ton of places, but I've only lived in the US and here in Bogota. So I would only be able to answer those two. And But what I've noticed every time I travel, and I've met people from all over the world, is that it's not like an art scene is just, you can never take it for granted. Like, it's not like it's ubiquitous and it's there, and yeah, people love, regular people love it, and people that are artists take part of it. No, there's always like an effort that has to be put into trying to be affected and be part of those communities. It's never easy. I don't think there's any country in this world where it's just easy to be an artist. If there was, you could be sure that every single artist would have already moved there, wherever there would be, because it's always tough. And if we had heard that there was a place in the world where, people would open their arms and just tell us, oh, you are an artist, you are the most amazing part of our society, welcome you with open arms. I'm going to throw money in your face, and you can use it for whatever you want. Don't worry, we're not going to judge you if you use it for alcohol. So no, that doesn't happen. So it's always going to be tough. So there's wonderful things. For example, it is a choice that I made to come back here, to come back home when I was younger. And it was a choice that had to do with me just painting, being able to do painting as my sole activity. And it's been a choice to also stay here. And it was a choice to, to have my kids here. And I love it. This is home. It's not perfect, but I don't think there's a perfect place on earth. That place doesn't exist. So yeah, I'm happy here. I think whatever your community may be, there's bound to be, artists somewhere. And if there isn't, then you start it. You start that community. That's a lot of pressure and that's a lot of weight on your shoulders. But you could be starting something amazing, because I don't think there's a place in this world without, illustrators, painters, sculptors. We always kind of try to seek each other. So that's awesome. Something bothering me about the drawing of the face. And every time I try to get to the specifics, I feel they get smaller. So, I'm going I described this the other day in one of my videos. I go 2 steps forward and 1 step back, which is not bad. Honestly, that's not a terrible, way to paint, but it's frustrating way to paint. The easiest way to paint is just to go forward and everything works. And I have felt that sometimes, not all the time. I have felt that, but when it doesn't work, oh my God, it's annoying. But I'll keep it open. One of the nicest things about just having this vague painting that slowly takes shape is that I can kind of direct the tempo of it, and just, if I want, I can just keep it open, for as long as I want. I could eventually just, keep going and not feel the need to put, a tiny little eye in there, and it would be totally fine. And I would be fine with it, which is probably what's most important about that.
If you are forced to go back to school but can study any art-related field, what would you pick?
If I was forced, I love how that question starts. If you have to. You know what I wanted to be when I was younger? And maybe this speaks about, me being a child of the 80s. I wanted to be an archaeologist. But I wanted to be an archaeologist because I grew up with Indiana Jones. And, I thought archaeology was just death traps and darts, poisoned darts, and just, whatever other, vaguely racist way to understand culture, a culture may be. But yeah, I loved it. Tombs, I wanted to be Tomb Raider. I wanted to be Lara Croft. So Yeah, that's probably what I would study if I didn't. There was no artwork in my life. Because the other thing that I wanted to do was art related, and it was special effects. I would have loved to do special effects. Again, this is me. I'm a product of my time, so I remember stuff like The Fly. So that's somewhat predictable, I would say.
Aaron asks,
Hey, Aaron.
what is both of your favorite foods? I'm here with the serious questions today.
Oh yeah, thank you. Dude, I feel actually I had to. I'm trying to make a transition, and it pains me to say, but I loved like shitty pizza, like terrible pizza, and I've loved it my whole life, and I think I'm having to give it up because it's killing me now. I'm older now, and sure, like your body in your 20s, it's like, oh yeah, dump anything on me, like freaking, I could eat anything. I could eat or drink anything in my 20s. Who cares? But my body now, it's like, okay, you're gonna feel this in a couple of hours. So it pains me to say, but even though like bad pizza is something that I just absolutely love, and I've loved all my life. There's a time and a place for bad pizza. For me, it's any day. So to come to the realization that I have to admit that this is something that I shouldn't be doing to my body anymore, dude, you don't know how much that cost. Like, that's harder than saying I'm sorry for me. So, I don't know, pizza. Yeah, but it's slowly, I'm gonna slowly have to say goodbye to it. Very slowly. I'm holding on to some sort of, I don't know, possibility that this may be a temporary thing, that maybe in my 50s I can eat pizza again, but I don't think so. Fuck.
But he asked for both. So mine is.
Danny's is sushi or ajiaco
No, hamburguesa.
or hamburger, apparently.
Hamburguesa.
So I don't know her after, almost 5 years together. I don't.
What was the first way you made an
I'm scraping. I'm sorry, but I'm scraping some of this. This is how weird it looks when you scrape paper. It just the paint feels like clay, and it's annoying. But I'm just, I think I'm hurrying too much. So I'm sensing that today is going to be a painting that you guys are going to see me struggle with, and I'm totally fine with that.
¿Puedo preguntarte ya?
Sí.
What was the first way you made an income from art?
First way, I think the first job I had that was art related was, making art, because me and my friends would actually, we were hired to be like waiters in art openings. We would do that, me with a couple of my kind of like best friends in school. So we would go to like really kind of fancy underground art openings after like an opening of a gallery show, and we would serve drinks to people there. Usually there were a lot of older artists, and I'm not, this is, please don't take this in any wrong way. This is just, I'm stating facts, but a lot of like older male artists just wanted to have sex with us. Honestly, that's what they thought we were there for. But we got $100 a night, not for the sex. No, that didn't happen. We got $100 a night just for serving drinks and just being cute. And this was a long time ago. That being cute part for me is gone, long gone. But so that was the first time that I saw that. But I remember just being, because I was younger and I was like, oh my God, this is the art scene. Like, this is what a New York art scene feels like, looks like. Like, this is not cool. I just, if I'm here, I just want to have, I just want to serve some drinks and that's about it. But I don't want every, older artist just hitting on me. That's kind of, creepy. And, but, as a profession, as a more, I was gonna say hands-on, but that can be interpreted weird. But as an artist, doing the stuff that I wanted to do, I started at a mural painting company that was called, I think it probably still in business, I don't know. It's called Evergreen Mural Painting Company. And I worked there for a while, actually, and I worked there before graduating. And then after I graduated, I worked at an illustration studio. It was called The Studio in New York. And that was very, very cool. The reason I got there was that bigger jobs at that mural painting studio stopped, because at the moment when I was painting, they were painting the all the murals, all the paintings for the Venetian casino. So very, very classy stuff. Thank you. And eventually those jobs just kind of dried up, and they kept the people that were kind of like their base. But people like me that were younger, that, we were just there to help out. They were like, okay, thank you. We don't need you anymore. And I was like, oh my God, I got to make rent. What do you mean you don't need me? And I just immediately that day that they told me that, they told me like, oh, we'll call you. Don't worry about it. When there's jobs, we'll call you. And of course, they never did. They never called me. But I called my best friend. I knew she worked at an illustration studio. And I was like, oh, God, by any chance, is there like an opening there? And she was like, dude, somebody just left. They're looking for somebody. And I was super, super lucky. So that same afternoon, I dropped off my portfolio. And they liked it. And they called me like the very next day. And they said, okay, you have like 2 weeks of trial to do this. And it was just doing kind of like animatics and storyboards and, for print jobs and commercials. And I had never done that before, anything like that. I had never worked with markers in my life. So this was all like markers. I was a painter, but I graduated as an illustrator, but I was a painter, and I was like, okay, this is my chance. I got to make the best of it. And I guess they saw that, I couldn't do it really, really well, but I could do it. Like, I think that I was for sure not one of the better people there. Like, there were super, super talented people in that studio, like insanely talented. So I was never going to be that person. But I was always the little hardworking, dude that could be called at any time to sub for anyone. It's like, oh God, we got like revisions on this, and we need this, this patch to be done in this person's style. Can you do this? And I could always kind of do a good enough job I was always good enough at doing those things. So I guess people liked me, my bosses liked me for that. I've always said, like, if you can't do it, at least be responsible. At least be like, okay, I'm going to be here like super early in the morning. I'll be like, first person to come in and last person to leave, and you can count on me. So even though I don't have the experience and I don't have, and for sure don't have what it takes right now, like, give me a chance and that will eventually come. So.
What is Samu up to these days? Pregunta Sergio Lora.
He lives like a block away from us, and I'm divorced, so they spend a week at their mother's and a week with me. So they just finished school. This is a week where they're not with us, so they're going to be with us Every Sunday I pick them up, and literally it's like a block away from here. So that was a nice thing when we moved here, that to know that my kids are like super close. So yeah, so they just finished school for for this semester, I guess, and yeah, he plays video games. He wants to believe that there is a world where they're gonna pay him to do nothing. So that's an awesome. It's just an awesome way of living. So his dream job is just to wake up really late, to play video games, not like at a super pro level, just fairly well. He plays video games fairly well. We're not speaking about there's not any esport potential here. He just plays fairly well. He just doesn't want to be bothered, and he wants to be paid handsomely for that. So he's got it figured out. He's got it done. He's going to be taking care of us like in a couple of years, I'm sure.
I went to, no sé cómo se pronuncia, KCAI and dropped out because I have bad social anxiety. How can one go about making a living selling art if they are an introvert who hates networking?
Oh, dude, I'm going to be honest. I don't speak about a lot of these things publicly, but, whenever somebody asks me, I'll be totally fine giving just sharing my experience. Dude, I'm like a crazy shy person. The thing is, I think the mechanism that I have to combat my shyness is just to be like extroverted, but I'm honestly just an introvert. I live inside my brain. Like that's where I feel most comfortable with. And there was times I had like panic attacks when I was teaching during, I remember moments like very, very specifically when I was teaching. And it was super tough for me because I had taught for many years. This wasn't like at the beginning. And I think from the outside, just people see me as this very, very kind of open person. But in the inside, I'm like slowly dying every time. And plus, I have the benefit of being like insanely, fair skin and pale. So I can blush like super, super easily. So the combination of those two things is never like cool, and it was tough. There was a moment where I thought that I was just never going to be able to teach again because I was just getting so kind of hyper conscious of me feeling kind of nervous about things, and me being, and what was toughest for me was just thinking that people would judge me for the way people. I think I was aware or hyper aware of how of the way I thought people perceived me. I think that's a better way of putting it. And it was super, super tough. And for the longest time I was like, I'm sorry about this, but I said like, fuck this, like I can't do this anymore. Like I'm not meant to do this. Like I'm meant to be in my room painting and then giving my paintings to somebody that can sell them, and then they can send me the money, and then that's it. I'm totally fine with my life, being that way. But at some point I pushed myself, and I'm not trying to say that you should, because there's nothing wrong if you don't feel comfortable with with just pushing yourself and going through that, which is very tough. People won't ever realize it, but it's very, very tough. And for me, and again, this is I preface this by saying for me it was super important to just push through, to just tell myself, come on, dude, like don't let this beat you. Like, this is you're gonna be stronger for the rest of your life if you just can kind of push through. And I did. And it was really cool. It was really cool because I also realized that, a lot of my students, I'm going to say like almost 100% of them, they really cared about me. So they weren't like aiming to make me feel uncomfortable or to make me suffer or no. If anything, I'm sure that if I had told them like, oh hey guys, I'm kind of uncomfortable here, like they would have been cool with it. Like they were cool kids. So but I think that for me it helped that I just kind of pushed and I realized this is like you said, this is unfortunately a part of what we do, just trying to not network but just talking to people and to be honest, to be fair, I know it's tough, but I even with this project, I think we both Danny and I ask a lot of of the people that support us, in the sense that every week we are every day of every week we are putting up paintings and we're hoping that they can sell so that we can keep doing more of what we do. So I always felt, oh my God, I'm asking so much from people that I have, and many times what we ask of them just requires a huge effort on their part, huge sacrifices, because a lot of the people, I'm going to say that the vast majority of the people that buy our work are not people that have a lot of money. They're people that when you say, oh dude, the painting is $250, they go like, woof, $250, dude, that's a lot of money. And so nothing is easy for them, and I think that if it's not easy for them and we are hoping that they can help us, then the most that I can do is just push through and do something that is not easy for me, and also kind of make that sacrifice. Like if I'm experiencing that that sacrifice from them, that huge effort from them, I have to answer back, and I've always seen it as such. So so it's not like, don't complain, don't say anything, just suck it up and grow up and be able to do this. No, it's not a matter of doing that, because I know it's always going to be difficult, and it's okay that you feel it's difficult. Nobody out there should ever say, just suck it up, grow up. A lot of people just say, oh, grow up and just deal with it, and as if it was that easy. I mean, if it was that easy, we would have done it already. But think about it as this effort that you have to put in, and I think that usually if you surround yourself with good people, I mean, there's going to be assholes everywhere in the world, but if you surround yourself with good people, they're always going to notice that you're doing something that is not comfortable for you, and they're always going to answer back, hopefully, with like compassion. Good people can tell when other people are struggling, and they'll answer back with just being kind. So if you surround yourself with those kind of cool, nice people, then that's a good step in trying to make things a little bit easier for yourself. So look at that, speaking about something super hard, but the painting is a little bit better. I'm picking at it a little too much, but I think it's a little bit better. And I hate that I'm concentrating so much up there and I have so much of the painting to go, but it is what it is. Yesterday I was fucking flying. I blocked in that head and I was like 2 strokes and I was like, yeah, I'm done. Painting is cake. Today it's like, no, dude, painting's tough. Painting is tough. Qué pena ya.
No. Do you have a podcast?
No. You know what I listen to? I listen to video game podcasts and I listen to sports like soccer, football podcasts. That's what I listen to, if I have to be super honest once again.
Camilo Carreño pregunta.
Yo, Camilo Grande.
What kind of pencil do you use? Kidding.
Bo.
What's your favorite song?
My favorite song? I probably don't have any. At the risk of sounding so boring. No, maybe I do. Let me think about it. No, maybe I do. Let me think. And I could care less if it makes me sound cool or not, but...
¿Te pregunto otra o...?
No, estoy pensando. Maybe Strawberry Fields, maybe. But now that I'm saying it, I'm like, well, I mean, it is a huge song. It's my favorite Beatles song, for sure. Oh. Yeah, we'll stick with that. I'm fine with that. That's probably... I'm not even sure if that's a good choice or not. Don't care, but I'll stick with it.
Wilson Guevara.
¿Qué dice Wilson? Un abrazo, Wilson. Muy bonito el dibujo que hizo ayer, Wilson. Gracias por acompañarnos.
¿Cómo se conocieron tú y Dani?
En un semáforo. En un semáforo. No. Nos presentó un amigo mutuo, un exalumno. Yo soy muy afortunado que exalumnos que he tenido en mi, digamos que con los que he compartido en mi vida, pues hay muchos de ellos que considero amigos. Digamos que a Wilson también pues Wilson es un pintorzazo hoy en día, pero lo conocí asistiendo a alguno de mis talleres y Wilson pues es un monstruo. Pero hay mucha gente que he conocido como en esos contextos, y entonces Nicolás Rich fue muy chévere y nos presentó, y no sé, pues al comienzo como que yo decía, ay, pero yo llevaba separado como, no sé, de pronto menos de un año, y yo no sabía si quería como estar en una relación, y no forzamos nada, no fue nada como raro, extraño. Pues obviamente era no difícil, pero pues obvio que pues Dani es menor que yo soy mayor que ella, pero pues después nos dimos cuenta que pues nada de eso realmente importó ni nos importa, y ya cuando nos conocimos bien fue como ya, o sea, ahí es cuando uno se da cuenta que cuando uno conoce a la persona que es, pues todas esas variables como que dejan de ser relevantes, entonces, y ya. Acá está llorando Daniela.
Casi. Have you applied paint with a palette knife much rather than just scraping with one? I love some of the marks I can get with a knife, which would be so difficult with a brush.
Yeah, I'm not good at it, so I would. It's not like I don't. It's not like I dismiss it as a tool. It's just that I don't feel I'm good at it. So I've seen people just do amazing things with a knife, and that's crazy. That sounded so weird. I mean, in our context, that sounds good, but FBI, open up. But I just don't know how to do it. I just don't know how to do it well. Like, I'm far more comfortable with a brush, to be completely honest. But you're totally, you are 100%, or I'm 100% in agreement with you. Like, there are things that only a knife, there are only gestures and manners in which paint can be applied that are only possible with a palette knife. So, for sure.
Otra en español dice, ¿has visto esa película Art School Confidential? De ser así, ese ambiente estudiantil es igual que aquí en Colombia.
Art School Confidential, no.
Sí, yo
¿Tú
no
sí?
la he visto, no.
¿Y es chévere? ¿Es famosa?
No sé, no la vi, pues yo
No sé. ¿Cuál es? Pues bueno, igual nos podemos meter aquí a buscar cuál es, pero
no.
ni idea.
De
¿Es
2006 dice.
¿Es un documental o qué es?
No, mira,
¿Parece una serie de MTV?
no sé.
Ay, pero yo creo que sé cuál es.
¿Cómo?
Ay, sí, que es como una caricatura ahí de una escuela de arte casi.
No sé. No.
Sí, yo creo que yo vi eso, pero ya no me acuerdo. Fatal, ¿no? Gracias. Súper útil el comentario. Sí, que todos son exagerados, todos son como estereotipos de artistas. Es como chistosa boba.
How long did it take you to live out of being an artist, or do you still take part-time jobs?
No, thankfully I don't have to. I mean, I'm gonna be a little mean with this. I'm gonna say that teaching, because I taught, this is how much I taught, but I taught for 12 years at university level, so at the fine arts faculty of a really big university here in Bogota. I taught for 12 years there, and I never made, I'm always super open about it, so this is me just being maybe a little bit salty with the university. That's totally fine, they can take it, they're huge. But I never made like $1,000 a month, never, ever. Not in any of those 12 years, and I had to be there for 5 days a week. So I'm gonna say that teaching there falls under the part-time category because it was such a shitty job in terms of pay, wonderful job, amazing job, the most incredible job that I could have as a human being, that's also true, but just a shit job when it comes to payment. So I'm gonna say that was my full-time side gig because I had to paint. You know, my earnings depended on me painting and selling. So I never stopped painting. I quickly understood that I could never ever stop painting if I wanted to, you know, live a life that was I don't know, where I could envision the life that I wanted for my kids, for example. So
I love these questions. It says, hi, is there any particular meaning behind the opening and ending of our painted lives? Which one of you is a triangle and which one is the circle and why?
So I'm the little ball. I'm the ball with the glasses, and I'm like a red ball because, you know, I'm super fair skinned. I always tell people like I'm like a bootleg ginger. So I'm always like this little, you know, pinkish reddish ball. I don't have any hair. I've already lost, you know, most of my hair. So I know I'm painting a terrible picture of me, but just bear with me. So that's me, you know, very stoic. I have like this little walk, this very kind of I would guess I'd say kind of assured walk. You know, it's not like John Travolta walk, you know, but it is a very assured walk, and Danny just bounces around, you know, full of energy, very annoying, and the shape, you know, it's just that she's got dark hair, like black hair, always smiling. She looks amazing when she smiles, and me, I'm just, you know, totally visual, so I'm just kind of walking, and she's like, have you ever seen that cartoon, that really old school, you know, Warner Brothers cartoon, that there's a bulldog, and there's this tiny little dog that goes like, it's like hyper, like totally hyper. I'm sure there's somebody that's listening that knows exactly what that cartoon is. So I'm the bulldog and Danny's just a hyper one. And but you know, although the bulldog always smacks the little dog just to get him to shut up, and the dog is like, okay, and then he keeps going. I would never ever dream of touching Danny. So yeah, so it's it works in that sense, not in the violent sense, please. So.
Pero no dijiste que es la O y la A de are painted, ¿no?
Oh yeah. So initially, you know, I thought that it was just the circle could be the O of our, and Danny could be the A of painted. So it was just a, you know, translation of two of those letters that are, you know, important in our, I guess our, I don't want to say brand or logo because it just feels like super, ugh. But, you know, that's what we call this project. So yeah, so it was a mix of all of those things. But yeah, it's basically us, you know, the way we we go through life.
Are you doing these live streams up till the new year? Or is
No,
it
I'm
a one-week
sorry.
thing?
No, I'm sorry. It's just this week. You know what we realized yesterday, and I died a little bit inside. I realized, we're gonna stop this week, and I need it because my hand is just hurting a little bit too much, so I need rest. And I was like, yes, I'm gonna have like 2 weeks rest because I already said that we're starting on the 4th, January 4th, and for me it's kind of important to have those things to say. You guys can count with us. You guys can count on us. Like we'll be there. We know that it's the beginning of the year, but you can count on us. Like we're like super old faithful. We'll be there. Like we can be your company. It could be a great year. It could be a shitty year. It doesn't matter. Like we'll be there. So we love that idea of consistency, of knowing that we're gonna be there. So I want to get started on the 4th, but for us to get started on the 4th, we have to have a whole week of videos already set. And that means that we're not really going to rest for 2 weeks. We're going to rest for 1 week. So, oh my God, my dreams just came shattering down. I was like, yeah, I could have a week off, like 2 weeks off. I could do whatever, play video games and be with my children. And I was like, yes. And then yesterday it dawned on me. I was like, no, wait. It's only 1 week. I was like, fuck that. 1 week? You can barely feel 1 week off. That's not even legal. So yeah, so it's only gonna be 1 week off. But I promise I'll try to take care of my hand, in that week so that we can come back stronger than ever.
¿Qué tal, Nicolás? Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, con las buenas tardes.
Geniales las anécdotas que nos compartes, ya que hablaste de fútbol.
Sí.
¿Barça o Real?
No,
Saludos
ninguno.
desde Bogotá.
No, ninguno de los dos. ¿Qué le pasa? No. Ninguno. Esos equipos así gigantes donde van jugadores a morir. No. Claro que, si es por colombianos que hayan jugado, pues toca escoger el Real. Y además, yo que soy hincha del Liverpool, pues tengo un poco de resentimiento hacia el Barça. Porque en el Liverpool Coutinho era un dios. Y lo chévere es que jugaba, lo chévere es que, pues para ganar todo, pues para ganar la Premier y después y la Champions, el Liverpool no necesitó a Coutinho, pero ese momento cuando decidió irse al Barça fue como, Coutinho, traidor. Pero pues ¿quién le iba a decir no al Barça? Pero sí, fue súper difícil. Se sintió como traición absoluta. Entonces...
O sea, ¿que elegirías el Real?
El Real sí me toca, pero yo odio el Real. Es que el Real es solo plata. O sea, el Real es solo mucha plata, es un banco. O sea, es un asco.
No, el Barça.
No. Vizca Barça.
Just a follow-up question to my networking question from earlier.
Yes.
Is it possible?
¿Cómo se llama la persona?
Mossy One. No sé.
Ok. ¿Por qué no sabe qué más así?
No.
Bueno.
Is it possible to make a living
Sí.
as an artist purely from online interactions?
Yes.
Do you know of any artists like this?
Yeah. No, you should. Giuseppe Celli. Only online interaction. That's an inside dumb joke, but yeah, of course you can. Yeah, and nobody would ever not care about that. So don't worry. You can do that. The amazing thing is that the world is set, nowadays in a way where you can be that person and you don't have to show your face anywhere. You know what happened to me on one of my first shows? It was a big show that I was doing. I mean, the place is gonna, it doesn't sound, validating at all. It was in Boca, in Florida. So it's very embarrassing to even, speak about exhibiting there. But anyways, I showed in this gallery, and it was a nice, it was a good gallery. I mean, it was a really nice gallery. It was a great space. But I showed in this place for a couple of years, and first big show that I had there, and I did like big paintings. I worked for probably over a year, like almost a year and a half on the paintings that I was going to show for that particular show. I was super proud of them, and I wanted to travel. I wanted to be like there so that they could meet me, and I was like, this is going to be a good, nice, big opening. I want to be there. I want to meet people. I want to meet the gallery director. Like I'm going to be there. And she met me, and I guess I was like, at that moment I was 25, 25. So I was younger, and I've always been sort of scruffy, I've always been kind of unkept, I would say. Now, that's making me sound terrible, but but I'm being honest. Like I've never really cared. I mean, I don't smell. It's not like I stink. Okay, let's get that like super clear. But I don't like to dress up for stuff. I don't. That's just how I am. So this is not a bad thing. This is just me. This is how I am. And I remember just going there, and I tried to put like something nice. So this was like the morning before the opening. And so I meet the gallery director. She was super kind, super nice. And I was like, yeah, I'm super psyched for tonight. I'm super ready. And she told me like, and this is totally true, 100% true. Like, I'm not making any of this up. She was like, well, you don't have to be here. And I was like, what? I was like, no, dude, like I traveled solely for this. Like I came from Bogota for this. Of course I want to be here. Like, what are you talking about? Like in my mind, I was like, what is she talking about? Of course I'm the guy who's doing the paintings. This is my show. Like, of course I want to be here. And she was like, well, maybe. And she looked at me like, she was looking at me like the whole time. Like she was almost like, how do you say that? Like measuring me. Like she was just looking at, me from up to, from upwards downwards, like just looking at me up and down and just saying, well, maybe people have like a different idea of what you look like. So maybe it's okay if you just kind of not be here. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, fuck this. Of course I'm going to. And that actually prompted me to want to be there. I was like, hell yeah, dude, I'm going to be there. I'm so going to show my scruffy face. I was thinking about, shaving. Now I'm not, for sure. I was like, no, fuck that. And for sure, I showed up. I was like, I want to see the look on the people. I want to see the disappointed look on the people that imagined like a more serious artist, and now they have to realize that this is me. And that didn't happen. These older retired couples that ended up buying all of my paintings for a lot of money, I have to say, money that I didn't at all deserve. I think it was like super inflated prices, and I was showing just before like the art bubble was about to burst, so everything was just overpriced, and I they loved me, so I was like, oh, forget it, this woman, so ignorant. I thought I was gonna say the stupid woman, but no, the gallery director was very nice, but I think that she was indeed very ignorant at that moment. And but yeah, sometimes it may be that people tell you, oh, don't show up, please. You're going to ruin your chances if you show up. Like, we can make sales. We have a better chance at making sales if you're not here. So maybe that's something that works for you, and that's totally fine. But don't worry. Like, the world actually works in a way now where you don't have to be there, where you don't really, really have to be part of anything like that. So if you're not comfortable, just always voice that opinion. Just always tell people, always be honest at the beginning. Just say, hey, I'm not comfortable in social situations. I don't want to show up. Could you just, tell that to people? And usually, that's the job of a gallery director, and that's the job of all the people that they have there that make sales, and that's totally cool. And if you feel more comfortable just being like an online persona, and then that's fine. That's totally fine. Like, who cares about that? I've met people that I have to call them by their, like, you know, by their, ¿cómo se dice eso como en Instagram? By their username. And I'm totally fine. It's like, hey, pig. I don't know anyone that's called pig. I was just trying to make a point, but you know, and I'm totally fine. It's not like I have to meet the real person. Like, I'm not, you know, I don't need to do that. So
¿Gatos o perros?
Uy, perro, 100%, ¿qué le pasa? Sí. Nada, no me interesa en lo más mínimo un gato.
Would you consider doing a week with bigger format?
Yeah, but I hope you do understand that that's difficult. Like, that is super difficult for me in terms of just painting something in one session and just, you know, finding some sort of resolution. And to do that, you know, day after day after day, I think, you know, and we have to be very kind of patient with this, and I know that I would be asking a lot from people, I'm sorry. But I think that that's cool. That could be like another project. Like, that could be after this, you know, our plan was always that this project would last for 2 years because... ¿Se salió? Can you guys hear me? Because I don't know if something happened to the stream. So if you guys can hear us, just let us know.
No, creo que ahí sigue, pero se salió y volvió.
¿Sí?
Sí.
Mira a ver si... So if you guys can hear us, let us know, because our stream kind of stopped and then restarted.
No, pero ahí siguen preguntando.
¿Sí?
Sí. Hey, pig.
Ah.
Sí, sounds fine. Sí.
Y yo que estaba diciendo, me morí aquí solo. Ya. No, y tú no me estabas parando bolas.
Sí, se escucha.
No.
No, sí te estaba parando bolas.
No, ¿sí ves? Ya ni te acuerdas. Sí, no, todo bien. ¿De qué estaba hablando? ¿Me ayudan? Me ayudan, que Dani me sacó del ritmo. Me sacó totalmente del ritmo.
Del formato.
Oh, yeah, so, ¿en inglés o en español?
En inglés.
Ah, bueno. So the plan is maybe, you know, this is tough, you know, for us, but, you know, if we can do another project, you know, next year, not next year, 2022, that has to do with the execution of bigger paintings, and that could be very cool. So that could be about you know, how an idea actually, I was about to move, I hate myself, because this is the second time. Like, I think on Monday, I tried to zoom into my painting by doing this, by pinching. And today and right now I wanted to look at the sleeve, and I was going to move the painting. My God. But you know, what I'm trying to say is that could be another project. But I don't know if it's easy to make it part of this particular project. But we'll try to find ways to make this project exciting. I love you guys, but it has to be exciting for me first, because I'm the one who's doing the painting, so I'm the one who has to be super excited about painting every day. And if I can make it exciting for you guys, you know, in the process, then I for sure will do that.
¿Juegas FIFA?
Pero siempre jugué fue winning, o sea, PES, pero cuando FIFA ya se puso súper difícil, súper complejo, ya es como demasiado, se volvió muy sim para mí. Yo era como más vieja escuela, o sea, yo jugaba International Superstar Soccer, o sea, ese era, yo no sé cuántos años tenga la persona que preguntó, pero o sea, ese juego es una locura. International Superstar Soccer.
Pero ese es del Play 1.
Lo máximo, ¿no? Ese yo lo jugaba en el Nintendo.
Super Nintendo.
No, en el 64. Pues había el Super y había el 64.
Sí, porque mi hermana lo tenía en el Super.
Lo máximo ese juego, el mejor.
Are you going to be doing another week of live streams next year?
Yeah, we were thinking about it with Danny. I don't know if have you guys enjoyed it? I mean, this is a different sort of pace for us, and obviously this week hasn't been really themed, so it would be kind of cool if we could do themed weeks that are live, but it's just a little harder to fit into just a schedule of making, you know, these more edited videos that have voiceovers, and where I'm showing or where I'm talking about specific artists or about specific aspects of a painting, and I try to kind of hone in on some specific aspect of a painting. So those are a little more, dare I say, like thought out, even though I probably sound like I'm speaking off the cuff like every single time. But yeah, they're a little bit different. But if you guys are enjoying, like, let us know. Like, that's super cool that if you are.
Dice Alonso, dice, will there ever be our sculpted line?
Oh,
Considering
dude.
that Danny is a sculptor.
Oh,
really good,
dude,
by the way.
she's
Thank you, Alonso.
See, no, dude, she's here. I'm never gonna answer for her. So
No,
that's a question for her. That's not for me. So ask her,
no,
please.
I don't think so. I'm super camera shy, so I don't think so. Pero de pronto tú puedes esculpir un día.
No, yo no soy bueno en eso. Yeah, she's very, very good.
But thank you, Alonso.
She's super. Danny is like super crafty. Me, you would think that because you're an artist, like you have some sense of what to do, you know, with three-dimensional work. Dude, I suck. I suck at it. I suck.
Deberías mostrar la casa.
I did, you know, we do in my family, we decorate like gingerbread, you know, Christmas houses. And mine just didn't want to be. Yeah, mine just didn't want to be that day. So this is what it ended up, you know, looking like. I couldn't do it. I know it's probably out of focus, but
No sé.
it's just parts of the roof because the whole house just collapsed. So that's what I did. Yeah, it was horrible. Mira, that's my those are my sculpting props. So that's me trying to flex. That's me actually saying, you know, stand back. I'm gonna sculpt something.
Espera, estaba respondiendo. Could you go briefly through your art education?
I had a mom who was an artist, and I owe a lot to my mother, in the sense that she's not only an amazing inspiration, but she made it, more importantly, she made wanting to be an artist just absolutely normal. And, you know, in my mind, there was nothing weird about it. There was nothing strange or scary about becoming an artist. I was, in many ways, I just felt like I was going to connect with my mother and my grandfather, her father, that they were both artists. So, you know, I owe her everything in that sense. And then I went to SVA, School of Visual Arts in New York, and I graduated on 99, and then I didn't study anymore because I think MFA programs are very, very expensive. And I wanted to, at the time, I really, really wanted to, but I just didn't have money. And I didn't have family over there. I didn't know anyone. So nobody would, you know, I could have asked the bank for a loan, but I didn't have like a cosigner or anything that could help me. So I didn't even try to get a scholarship. I wanted to go to Syracuse because I've told this before, but because that's where Jerome Whitkin was teaching the, I think he was head of the MFA program. So I wanted to go there, and I didn't. I kind of regret it, but I know that, you know, it sort of made me all like push myself in different aspects of my life also. So I don't feel bad about that either. But yeah, so I have an amazing BFA experience, and that's it.
I've drew Tuesday's photo. Just wondering if there's a hashtag you would like us to use for posting. Que yo he visto que mucha gente-
Oh, yeah. If you use our painted lives, that's awesome. And there's super cool people. I think maybe AJ is listening. She doesn't have to, but AJ yesterday posted.
Every day she does.
Yeah, she posted a lot of people's work. So she was
Yes.
super kind.
She says yes.
Oh my God. You know, I know I can count on two things: that I'm gonna struggle with every day's painting, and that AJ is gonna be there. So that's an amazing feeling. Thank you, AJ. So AJ has been super cool, and she actually collected some paintings yesterday from people, and she posted them. So that was super nice.
How well have you gotten used to painting while recording? Any tips on getting better at being able to manage both painting and commentary?
Oh no! I mean, I've gotten better when we're recording. I think I've gotten better, but I know that I'm not quite able to paint as if, there was no camera. And not because I'm conscious of the camera, but because, and this is just a super practical reason, but just because I can't really do this. I'm sorry, you're gonna see my, head there. But I can't get close to my painting. I really can't, and this is a small painting, so it's always annoying, or it just annoys me that I can't do it. And so the paintings tend to be a little bit looser, and at first I was like resentful of that. I was like, I'm never going to be able to like convey the amount of information that I can. It's like I know in my mind that at first I was like, I know I can do better than this. I just equated it to that word. And the truth is, it's not better. Like it's actually fascinating that it has pushed me to understand painting and almost like redefine my own painting and say, hey, if you paint with broader marks, if you paint more expressively, that's also super cool. Like, don't think like you're doing something that is less of a painting just because you're not able to refine it as much. So for me, it's been I guess the most difficult thing. It's not so much painting while talking, because I think I can do that very well, but it's or at least I don't feel pressure when doing that. That's how I would phrase it better. But the annoying part for me was like, I know I could have taken this further, or I know I could have, I don't like to say this, but I know I could have detailed this a little bit better, or I could have further developed this area a little bit more, and I'm not able to do it because I have to just keep my distance from my painting. But then I realized, wow, but keeping my distance from my painting has also taught me so many amazing things about like the fundamentals of painting, where you're supposed to just, kind of stand back, that, that's kind of awesome too. Like this is sort of, blessing in disguise if I'm willing to accept it. So I think that to me has been the toughest part. Not so much just speaking, like this is fine for me. Like I enjoy just thinking that we are just keeping each other company while working. That doesn't feel foreign to me. That feels just like a regular painting day. Plus, I don't put any pressure on myself. I'm gonna be super honest. You know what the most difficult thing is? When you put pressure on yourself. When you say, "Oh my God, this painting has to be fucking incredible, and I have to like hit it out of the park every single day." Like I don't do that. Like the painting is whatever it's gonna be. Like at the beginning of this painting, I was very, very annoyed because nothing up there was working. But I know myself, and it's just like, okay, keep at it, just keep going. Don't let it beat you, and that's kind of cool. But that part where you suffer, in front of people, you have to be comfortable through, with that. So don't get nervous about that.
Saludos from Israel.
Saludos. Happy Hanukkah, by the way. This is what this seventh day of Hanukkah. So happy Hanukkah.
You share the reference photo. Are you interested in the interpretation of others?
Yeah, I love it. Like when I can comment, I totally comment on when other people tag me and when I can see the images that they do. That's so cool. I love it. I absolutely love it. Lovisa yesterday I think did a kick-ass. I'm not saying Lovisa like I'm just singling her out, although she kicks ass. But I think she did an awesome job yesterday. And there's been so many people that do really cool like interpretations. I think that's what this is about. This is not about copying what I'm doing, because honestly it would be as impossible for me to copy you guys as it is for you guys to copy me. So that's never what I expect out of this this exercise. So yeah, but I love to see the paintings. It's not the objective. Like, you guys could just hang out and if only a couple of us are painting, that's totally fine. That's also fine. Like, this is not a good experience if a lot of people are painting, and a bad one if only me is painting and talking. No, this is just company while we're painting. That's all it is.
Lots of brushes in your hand.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. I'm yesterday I dropped a brush. The other day I dropped a tube of paint on my pants. That's how I paint. It's just, I don't know why, but that's how I paint.
Espera, dice, lots of brushes in your hand. Do you use ones for darks or lights, warm, cool, or does it matter?
I think initially I do, and then it all goes to hell, and then they all end up being dirty. And that's why I'm able to paint gray paintings, because look at them all. Look at all of them. They're all mid-tone. They're all like value. What would that be? They're all value 4. Value 4. So it's a disgrace. Honestly, I really do think that that's one of the reasons why my paintings are gray. But I love it. I mean, I probably keep doing it unconsciously, or not unconsciously. I think I know what's going on, but I think that's why I don't adjust what I'm doing, just because I'm like, okay, this is working. This is working for me. This is kind of working for me in the sense that it's getting me closer to how I want to paint. So, but yeah, this is I'm an idiot. I mean, you don't have to hold all your brushes on your hand like while you're painting. That's kind of dumb.
Sorry if this has been asked already, but can you elaborate on the idea of concrete drawing from yesterday? I learned to draw through copying the abstract flat shapes, and I feel I'm missing something.
Concrete drawing from yesterday. I maybe, and this is probably ignorant on my part, but I don't know if I understand that term, because yesterday we didn't really do a drawing. Yesterday we just kind of, it's almost like the same way we started today, where everything just was, shapes of color, very, very kind of abstract sort of shapes of color. So there was no like specificity to that drawing. I mean, there's always specificity to a drawing, because that's what kind of drawing, the essence of drawing entails. But we didn't go about it in a kind of traditional way. So there was no underdrawing yesterday. But I did it, I think, and throughout the year, I think I've approached the paintings in very many different ways. And I think I do it consciously to just, well, one, to push myself, and two, to also hopefully serve in some way, in some, small academic way, as to tell people, hey, you don't really need like a highly specific approach, and you don't need to repeat it time and time again every time you go to paint. You can approach a painting in very, very many different ways, and the important thing is to know that your approach can change based on what your intent is. If you change your approach because you think that you're going to be able to access something that would be otherwise a little bit tougher to access, you know, if you worked on the manner of painting, if you constructed a painting in the manner of painting that you were taught, and if you just have done that single manner of working throughout your life, you're not going to see other possibilities that are probably, you know, readily available to you should you want to use them. So I always try to push myself to say, okay, I can probably, you know, approach this a little bit differently today, and that's going to be totally fine.
Claro, dijo como you touched on it during conversation at the end of yesterday's live stream. Pero yo no me acuerdo.
I wonder what I said. Yeah, if somebody could help me out here, because yesterday, yeah, I didn't really, you know, if it's specifically about yesterday's painting, I don't know if what I was saying is kind of like what I said right now, which is that I was happy that I didn't really approach the painting without an underdrawing, without the specific sort of foundation that an underdrawing can provide to you. So maybe it was that. Maybe I'm so sorry. I really honestly don't remember what I said.
Did you happen to experience the underground music scene in the 90s when you were in New York City?
Oh yeah. It was really good, and I was very grungy. So yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. Although I don't know what we mean about, you know, underground. You know, I would still go to like CBGB's or No-Tell Motel, you know, places like that, Avenue B, C, you know, cool places. But I don't know if we're talking about the same kind of thing.
Acabas de mencionar que fuiste estudiante de Jerome Whitkin.
No.
¿Te gusta la obra de su hermano Joel? Pues para que expliques.
Ah, sí, no, lo mencioné, pero mencioné que consideré que el único sitio que consideré para hacer una maestría era en Syracuse, porque yo estaba en Nueva York y pues sabía que Jerome Whitkin estaba, no sé si era dirigiendo el programa de la maestría allá o si era pues una de las personas que enseñaba pintura. Bueno, eso sí lo sé, era una de las personas que enseñaba pintura allá en el programa de maestría. Y yo pues todavía adoro la obra de Whitkin y obvio, pues el hermano obviamente mucho más mórbido, pero el fotógrafo es increíble, el hermano gemelo.
¿Va a haber alguna semana que trate de claroscuros o técnicas de dibujo en puro blanco y negro o monocromía?
Estoy tratando de pensar si hemos hecho como algo monocromo, pero creo que no sé si full monocromo o tratando como de enfatizar como el carácter monocromo, creo que no.
No, y los dibujos fueron en lápices de color.
Ah, sí. No, podemos, sí, suena chévere.
How do you clean your palette?
As you can tell, I don't. I just wipe it. I literally wipe it and then keep cleaning. But this is an acrylic palette, so I can scrape it and it will just peel off. And the other ones I have are they are glass palettes. I have a smaller one this size and I have a bigger one about twice this size. And yeah, they're both dirty at the moment, but I know that if I take a scraper and some solvent, because I would have to use solvent, then I would be able to clean them. So yeah, I don't know. I once had a beautiful wooden palette and I absolutely ruined it because I didn't have the, you know, I don't know, I just don't, you know, I don't have the personality to just clean it every day and to, you know, wipe it every day. So I just threw that money, you know, down the sink. I was an idiot.
Hello, Nicholas and Danny.
Nicholas. And Danny.
What's your opinion about digital painting? No.
See, no, I've talked about that. I've talked about this in last couple of days, but yeah, for me, it's painting. It's one and the same, to be completely honest. I know the tools are different, and I know the way we experience those images, you know, is different. But to me, and being somebody who loves, production work for video games and animations, and who would have been super, super stoked to have worked at a studio like that, at some point in my life. But that's a whole other, path that my life would have taken. I was super happy because my friend Irvin Rodriguez, I'm going to go full Latin with the Rodriguez. Irvin just got hired by Naughty Dog, so I was like so stoked for him. I was like super psyched. And I even wrote to him like, dude, you have to give me a tour. Now whenever they open, I'm so gonna visit you. And he's doing like character design, I think. And he's been showing some stuff that he did for the Mandalorian. And it's all digital stuff. It's all Photoshop. And oh my God, it's so damn cool. It is so freaking cool. But yeah, I would love that. I would have loved that also. I'm very kind of old guy with like new technology. When somebody tells me to paint digitally, I fumble a lot, and I'm kind of looking at everything, just trying to make sense of it. But it's not that I'm like technophobic or anything. Like, I love technology, and of course I've painted in Photoshop, but I'm just very like, I'm just not efficient at all. At all. I think it would take me probably twice as long to do a painting than it would take for just people that use it as a tool, like as the regular tool. But I love it. I absolutely love. Like, Danny just got an iPad Pro, and she's kind of taking some courses for Procreate, and it's amazing. Like, I wish I could just pause my life and say, I'm gonna take 6 months off and just learn, really, really learn how to use Procreate. I would love all that stuff. That to me is that just blows my mind, all that stuff. So.
Did you exhibit in ¿cómo se dice? Egypt?
Egypt. Oh yeah, but that's yeah. But that's when my mother and I even got like a silver medal when I exhibited there. When my mother used to do her etchings, she always told me, I'm gonna always send your etchings too, like the etchings that you do too. So we would both enter into like these competitions, and it was super cool. So there was a print, I guess triennial, I think, or it was maybe a biennial that was done in Egypt, and I actually got a prize. One of my etchings actually won a prize, and I was really young, and it was amazing because I entered as American because they asked, where are you born? And I was born in the U.S. and they, they immediately just put you in the, like, they kind of slot you as an American. So I was like, yeah, I'm American. So this is like the coolest, the weirdest thing. So I exhibited there, but I was like, I made nothing of it. It's like my mother took care of like sending all the etchings. You would have to send the actual etchings, and they would judge them physically. And maybe a year later, like, we got a call, and I was in New York, and my mother goes like, we got a call from the embassy that there's like a package for you over there. And I'm like, what? Why would there be like a package, in the embassy in Colombia, like waiting for me? Like, that's super weird. And my mother was like super scared. She was like, I don't know. I have no clue what it is. And they were like, well, it comes from Egypt. And my mother was like, what the hell? No. And I remember her like being super like, no, we don't know. What do you mean Egypt? Because at that moment, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, no. And they were like, well, can we open it? Because it says it's like a medal or of some sort. And at that moment, neither her nor me were like, we don't know what it is. And they opened it there, and they told my mother, well, it says it's from like a print triennial. And my mother goes like, oh my God, he won something, and that's amazing. So the embassy actually sent it to us. Don't ask me how the embassy got it. Don't ask me how, they were able to send it. Like, props to the people that were organizing that they were like, well, he's American, and he says he lives in Colombia, maybe. So they send it to the embassy, and in some strange, weird way, just the embassy was able to say, oh yeah, this dude with this, I don't know, with this name lives in Colombia, so we're going to send it to the Colombian embassy. I don't know how that worked out, but eventually this medal, this very nice kind of medal, got to me back home, and I keep it with my graduated with honors from my art school medal that I also got. So they're two very weighty medals that are not good for anything, to be honest, but they're kind of cool.
Hola,
I keep them in a sock drawer somewhere.
Hola Nicolás y Dani, todo su proyecto ha sido de gran ayuda e inspiración, muchas gracias.
No, muchas gracias.
Una pregunta para Nicolás, ¿conoce la pintura de Golucho?
Sí, claro.
Paco la Farga.
Sí.
¿Qué opina de ella?
Sí, Golucho es un monstruo. Golucho y Paco, pues bueno, charro poner los dos en la misma categoría, pero porque son similares. Yo no sé si Paco fue ayudante de Golucho, fue asistente como de taller de Golucho o algo así, creo. Si no estoy mal, me corrige si estoy diciendo algo que no es. Pero sí, ambos unos monstruos. Son muy buenos. Golucho es un monstruo. Pasa que Golucho es loco, obvio, eso sí, creo que todo el mundo lo sabe, pero es un genio dibujante, es un bárbaro. No, a mí me encanta ese tipo de obra, digamos que es ese realismo post-López que hay en España, pero que no es un realismo, o sea, es que se tiene como dos caminos. Hay un camino que es el de el purista súper tradicional que tiene que trabajar del natural todo el tiempo y que se vuelve una cosa ya casi que dogmática, así religiosa, el tener que trabajar del natural. Y la otra pintura que es simplemente como mucho más abierta y que siento que Golucho es parte de eso, en donde pues se agrede la obra y se trasciende un poquitico el acto de representar, pero sí, son unos duros. Golucho me ha invitado a esa exposición en donde él fue curador, pero yo al final, honestamente, la que era en el MEAM, honestamente no quise mandar cosas allá. Ese museo lo respeto mucho, pero creo que la parte directiva del museo no es de mí, no me simpatiza, no es realmente cercana a mi sensibilidad, si voy a ser 100% honesto.
¿Ya jugaste The Last of Us, los dos juegos?
No, el primero, el segundo no. Lo malo es que como oigo de todo, sé qué pasa en el juego, entonces ya como que me dañé la historia. O sea, yo sé que hubo resto de spoilers para la historia antes de que sacaran el juego, pero entonces ya sé qué pasa, entonces pues difícil como charro jugarlo. No, compré pero para el PC, compré en GOG, compré Cyberpunk y ahí he estado como medio jugando, y estoy jugando, es que tengo el Play 5 y estoy jugando Demon's Souls, pero yo jugué Demon's Souls en el Play 3. Yo he jugado todos los Souls games, todos. He acabado, no acabé Demon's Souls, pero acabé Dark Souls, acabé Dark Souls 2, acabé Bloodborne, no acabé el 3, Demon's Souls 3 no lo acabé, Dark Souls 3, perdón, no lo acabé. Sekiro no, es que ¿sabe qué me di cuenta? Que yo necesito jugar con alguien. Necesito que haya como ayuda, como un summon. Yo necesito llamar gente porque solo creo que me da muy duro el juego, me da por la cabeza. Entonces, pero sí, no, he estado como probando, ahoritica probando Cyberpunk.
When it comes to improving, do you think it's better to do lots of quicker paintings or invest more time in a few?
Me as a painter, and I'm going to be super honest, I'm going to try to be super honest with my answer. Me as a painter and as a teacher, I think that it's more beneficial to do more paintings than to do one. Now, that being said, you also have to teach yourself what happens when you keep working on a single painting, if you want a painting experience to be prolonged through, a space of time, you need to be able to have that experience also. But if you ask me personally, I would much rather, and this would happen in a semester, like, with my painting class in the visual arts faculty, I would much rather push students to do paintings, a single painting every 2 weeks. That to me was super important, instead of just really concentrating on a single painting throughout, or a couple of paintings throughout the semester. That what also helped me was the fact that another teacher which taught, a teacher friend of mine which taught painting too, his class was based on working on a single project, that it could be a painting, a large painting, or a couple of large paintings throughout the whole semester. So because I knew that was the basis of his class, I could also approach my class in the way that I liked, which was to say, okay, the more paintings the better. Just gives you a better chance to do more and just gather more experiences. And especially, I think that's especially important when you're starting out.
How do you decide whether to use an imprimatura or not? And what's the best way to use it during the painting process?
I think you have to make that decision, before you start painting, so because it's such a relevant kind of moment in the painting, if you're working traditionally, you have to make sure that there's a reason for it, and especially if you're going to use, let's say, a high chroma color, you have to have, there has to be a reason. It can't be haphazard. It can't be, I just dropped like a super high, high chroma magenta for my imprimatura, and that's totally fine, like as if it doesn't mean anything, as if it could have been replaced with any other, hue or any other saturation or any other value. No, it should be something that's well thought, in the sense that you are understanding that that's the first kind of moment of your painting, and your painting is going to be affected by that moment, and you're going to build up from that moment. So ideally, that color that you put down has to have some effect in the painting. Or if you don't want it to have an effect, but if you want it to be helpful, if you want the aid of an imprimatura, what you want is to have a neutral one. So you can also do that. You can also have like a neutral imprimatura, and it'll help you gauge all your values and your hues a little bit better. But again, it has to be there has to be a conscious choice. It can't just be, oh, dude, I found this awesome green, I'm going to use it for, this underpainting. No, why? What are you going to put on top of that green? Like, and if it kind of shows through, or it seeps through, what's going to happen to your painting. If you're doing it for kind of experimental reasons, that's totally cool. But if you're doing it understanding the design of your painting, I guess it's best.
Did you paint in acrylics? What's your opinion on this?
No, I haven't. I used to not like them at all. And I used to talk a lot of crap about acrylics, because I don't like the way they transform when they dry. And then I saw James Jean paint with acrylics, and he paints incredible with acrylics. So I realized, it's not that acrylics are terrible, it's just that I don't know how to paint with acrylics. That's probably the real reason. So now I just shut up. So now I'm just like, I just don't know how to use them. That's probably the truth. But I still have a hard time, because unfortunately I'm always going to compare them to my experience with oils. So it's always going to bother me that that they transform, that they change, in value and in saturation when they dry, as they dry. That to me is just annoying as hell. I can't express how just how weird that is to me. To put something down and then to see it change, it's like, dude, but I worked so hard at mixing this in my palette and in trying to find relationships, find very specific relationships so that I could put this down, and now it changes? Like, what the hell? No, that's not cool. Like, yeah, but I guess the people that work on acrylics, they already know that. They can kind of foresee that and they adjust for that, but my brain is just too stupid. You know, it's like I want to put something in my palette, and if I worked hard at trying to find it, it's like, okay, I found it. You like, don't don't make me now interpret these decisions all over again. No, I worked hard and I found them. I'm done.
Ayer has dicho que Fernando Rosas era un desastre y hace unos días has dicho que Juan Ruiz era una mes.
Sí.
Sé que lo dices con cariño.
Sí, total cariño, sí.
¿Crees que eso puede afectar su success?
No, para nada. O sea, Bacon, ya con decir Francis Bacon era un absoluto desastre, o sea, un absoluto desastre. Y pues es de los pintores más grandes de la segunda mitad del siglo XX, de los artistas más grandes de la segunda mitad del siglo XX. No, el arte es muy chévere en eso, que es que se refleja el mundo, o sea, y en el mundo no hay persona, o sea, la gente no tiene que ser de una manera, o sea, eso no tiene ningún efecto. Ahora, que haga que algunas cosas de pronto, algunas interacciones sean más difíciles, pues de pronto, pero no quiere decir que vaya a ser difícil. Yo creo que a Fernando le va, pues, con base en el talento que tiene, uy, por Dios, o sea, para mí es como ya es un genio, es un escultor, pero increíble. Es que nosotros cuando conseguimos esa pieza, pues uno juzga la pieza por Instagram. Eso es una tontería, pero cuando nos llegó es espectacular, o sea, es una cosa, es un genio. En talla, Fernando es un absoluto genio. Entonces, y lo mismo de Juan es un pintorzazo, o sea, es un pintorzazo. Entonces, no, pueden tener prioridades distintísimas a las mías o maneras de vida distintísimas, y a mí eso nunca me ha importado. Yo creo que cuando personas que así seamos distintas nos encontramos, entendemos que lo que nos une es una cosa súper bonita y no tenemos que ser como pares para que disfrutemos de la compañía del otro. O sea, podemos ser distintísimos y ya, y uno disfruta y celebra el hecho de que la otra persona sea distinta. Sí, yo lo digo, y gracias por entenderlo así, porque obviamente sí lo digo como en un tono que no es para nada crítico.
Another question for both you and Danny. What are one of your top 5 favorite movies?
Uy, a ver, Dani.
¿Una?
Pues di la tuya primero.
Mary and Max.
Mary and Max de Dani, sí, una animación súper bonita.
Mi amor es en inglés.
So Danny's picking Mary and Max, beautiful stop motion animation. I would have to pick some of my favorite. Maybe Lanthimos, some Lanthimos movies. I'm a huge fan of him and Wes Anderson. So for sure, some of their movies are part of my favorite movies. Of Wes Anderson, I know it's old school, but Rushmore, I think, still is probably one of my favorites, even though they're all fantastic. And Lanthimos, I was only, because Danny hasn't seen much of Lanthimos, but I showed her Alps. ¿Te acuerdas que vimos Alpes?
Sí, claro.
Yeah, Alps is fantastic.
Vimos otra también.
¿De Lanthimos?
Sí. La de los dos señores. ¿O esa no era de él?
No.
De alguien parecido a él.
No. Eso era de un sueco.
Esa estuvo chévere.
Sí. Yeah, Alps is amazing. Lobster is great. Sacred Deer is great. I don't know. I mean, any of those that I could pick is just a way of saying that he's one of my favorite directors. So. Ah, no, la que vimos fue Mr. Borgman, ¿es que era? No, Mr. ¿Sí?
Algo así.
What's it called? That movie? Mr. Borgman, maybe? That's that's beautiful, just awesome movie.
Borgman, creo que sí.
¿Sí?
Dice Dutch psychological.
Yeah.
Thriller drama film.
Yeah, that's an amazing movie. That's an awesome movie too.
Hola Nico y Dani, felicitaciones por este canal.
Muchas gracias, mi querida. Querido
Lucas Valencia.
Querido Lucas.
De verdad me ha servido mucho. Nico, ¿nos podrías dar algún tip para la armonía del color en las pinturas?
Pues esto que estamos haciendo hoy, digamos, no sé si estabas escuchando desde el comienzo, pero por eso es que para esta pintura en particular tratamos de hacer como una gran masa de color al comienzo, y obviamente hizo que el aproximarse al dibujo tuviera que ser un proceso así súper lento, como dispendioso de ir encontrando la forma, pero lo que garantiza eso es que todas las decisiones que uno va a poner encima de esa masa de color pues se van a ver afectadas por ese tono. Entonces casi que eso genera es una manera muy chévere, súper bonita de hacer como una armonía súper obligada, como casi que rapidísima. Entonces eso es chévere. Ese era como más o menos el objetivo de hoy. Por eso creo que hoy, a diferencia de ayer, que estábamos como tratando de hacer unas interpretaciones de color, hoy quería que fuera una cosa muchísimo más atmosférica. Digamos, el efecto que va a tener ese color, esa masa inicial de color sobre las otras masas, es que las obliga como a que todo sea supeditado a ese como color en particular. Entonces hace que la lectura sea como como si fuera una atmósfera, como algo análogo a una atmósfera que se está tragando todas las otras decisiones que uno pone encima.
Were you listening to hip hop in the 90s?
I wish I could say yes, but not much. Like what?
¿Ya? ¿Otra?
Sí, no, pues espera a ver si me responde.
No, es que estaba buscando una pregunta que estaba arriba, porque ahorita no hay más. Tengo una en español. ¿Cuál es su comida típica favorita?
Uy.
Laura.
Pregunta Laura. Hola Laura. ¿Laura es colombiana? ¿Será?
Laura Largo, no sé.
Laura Largo. Laura, si es colombiana, pues de pronto entiende el goce que puedo tener por así comida casera, pero mi comida favorita, así que es como de casa de mi mamá, es lentejas, carne molida de arroz. O sea, para mí eso es como lo más grande que hay en el mundo. O sea, unas lentejas como no con un jugo de hogo, o sea, no sé si le diga hogo o gao, Laura, pero así lentejas como bien ensopaditas, carne molida y arroz es de las cosas más ricas que existen. Y lo otro que me gusta, también así súper casero, tradicional, es carne, naco y arroz. O sea, naco le digo yo al puré de papas. Entonces carne, puré de papa y arroz. Entonces no soy así como de decir ajiaco, sancocho. O sea, obviamente todo. No, el ajiaco sí no soy fan, cero. Pero y el sancocho tiene su momento, su sitio. No es que yo me despierte antojado de sancocho.
Pero caldo de costilla.
Un caldo de costilla, sí. Un caldo de costilla es increíble. Es increíble. Es de las bendiciones que nos regaló el Señor Jesucristo. No sé.
No veo más nuevos por ahora.
Súper.
¿Con qué frecuencia haces estos directos?
No, primera vez en el año que los hicimos. en el proyecto del año. Los hacía mucho en Instagram. Entonces había mucha gente que era familiar con unos lives que hacíamos y Dani pues también me ayudaba mucho ahí con ellos cuando podíamos estar juntos. Pero los hacía en Instagram y después paré y digamos que la interacción así como virtual se digamos que se pasó a la manera como pues de pronto interactuaba yo mediante el postear los videos que estamos haciendo para el proyecto, pero pues no es lo mismo. No es lo mismo que estar en vivo compartiendo con un buen número de personas o un número chiquito de personas, honestamente. Ni les voy a ser sincero, ni le pregunto a Dani cuánta gente hay, ni me importa. O sea, se me hace súper chévere que si hay 2 personas, pues somos 3 aquí trabajando, o si somos 40, pues somos 40, o si somos nada, no importa.
Do you think painting is superior than drawing? And what would be your top artist that draw?
No, not superior. They're just I don't think of things in that way, to be super honest. Like I don't see hierarchies in art. And in the same sense, I don't see painters that are better than other painters. I find painters that are closer to my own sensibility or artists that are closer to my own liking, but not, I don't equate that with better or worse. I try to not think of in that sense. I mean, it's totally fine. I don't mean anything by it. I don't mean to tell you like, oh, you shouldn't either. No. It's just that in my mind, it just doesn't quite work that way. And to me, I've said this before, but Ruprecht von Kaufmann, RVK, he is my art crush forever and ever. Him and Benjamin Bjorklund. I don't want Benjamin to think that I'm betraying him, but yeah, they're both my art love verse. No, that sounds weird. Yeah, but I think that they're incredible, both of them.
What are your thoughts about Alberto Mielgo? Did you see
Eugenio.
Did you see The Witness in Love?
Yeah. Very Death, Love, and Robots. The thing with I'm probably, if you're asking about him, I'm sure you know, but Alberto was was supposed to be the art director for Spider-Verse. Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't hear the whole question. I'm sorry.
Love, Death and Robots from Netflix or Spider-Man Through the Universe? Maybe some words about animation world now, if not.
Oh yeah, no, he's a genius. Like what I was gonna say, yeah, you probably know this already. So he was gonna work on Spider-Verse and I guess him and Sony. He was vocal about this, so that's why I can speak about that. But I guess Sony thought it was a little too edgy for what they were going. I mean, but he said it's amazing because a lot of what that movie is because it is thanks to the to the guidance that he had already set. Some of those images that he made for like pre-production of Spider-Verse are ridiculous. They're so freaking cool that you can tell that his whole vision, even though it was probably watered down and he says he wanted something a little bit darker, but his whole vision was translated really, really well, and that's what made Spider-Verse amazing, because it is one of my favorite animations ever, for sure. And it was I was super happy to see him do that short for ¿cómo es que se llama? Death, Love and Robots. Yeah, that's for sure. That's like the strongest short in that whole collection, for sure. Love, Death and Robots. That's the strongest one. I remember when it came out, that's the one, like Danny and I saw it, and I told her, no, like this is like the coolest one. Like we were watching and I told her, we're going to watch this one first because this is like the coolest one. And it was so cool to just see the thing he did for Watch Dogs, that yeah, it's not a cool game, or it doesn't matter. But what he did has, so much atmosphere. It was supposed to be like a tone piece, I guess, just kind of showcasing what they wanted with the game. But it ended up just being like the cooler like cooler than anything that could ever happen in that game, and it was amazing. It was amazing. He already has such a just signature style. I mean, his things are his. You can recognize them immediately. I had no idea that he was doing that Watch Dogs thing, and I think I was watching. What was I watching? I guess Yubi did some sort of, I don't know, or maybe it was in. I don't know. I don't know when that premiered, but I didn't know that was coming. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is his. This is his for sure." They're either like, copying him like crazy, and that's insane that they're just butchering him, or this is totally his. And I was so happy when he just immediately then came out and say, "Hey, I've been working on this for a while," and I was like, "Yeah, that's so cool. It's crazy." But you know what? He also did the intro to Beatles Rock Band. And if you've never seen that intro, dude, you should watch that, because I think that he is genius in that. Like, he is an absolute, like, freaking god in that intro. Like, I got to know his work because of that intro, because I never played Rock Band. I never played any of those games. I think the only time I played it was like in an arcade like about a year ago that we played with Danny. And I sucked at it. I sucked. I'm horrible. I've played video games my whole life. And I grabbed that guitar and I was like, I don't know what my pinky is doing. I have no clue how to control this. But I remember watching that intro and I was like, oh, this is incredible. Like, visually, this is so, so good. So I've known him ever since then. And he's like a super cool guy. I know him through social media, but we've exchanged like a bunch of messages, and he's a super, super nice guy, like insanely talented. If I would happily work with him, but I have no talent whatsoever in anything that he does, and so yeah, so I would just be, again, zero efficient. I would just bring my zero efficiency policy to any project, any animation project, or any project that has like a super strict, deadline. I would be like, hey, let's take our time. Why would that matter? Just, deadlines are flexible. So let's try things out. Why don't we spend a year trying things out? That would be me. So I don't know. I'm sure that I'm not good for that.
Do you think someone can learn drawing or painting just as much from online classes as opposed to in-person classes, especially during this time?
The same? No. But can you learn, and can you learn a great deal from it? Yes. And it also depends on the teacher. Like, there are amazing teachers out there. There's people that are able to communicate, just fantastic things, even if you're not, right there in front of them. There are very capable, people out there. So yeah. But the other thing is, like, what are you going to do? Like, we can't go anywhere, so might as well give it a try, at least. But AJ probably left, but I've talked with AJ about courses that she's taken with both Zoe Frank and I blanked out. Ay, madre, se me fue el nombre. Y ayer me preguntaron de ella. O sea, lo peor, fatal.
¿De quién?
Fuck, qué estúpido. Bueno, se me fue el nombre, sorry. But, she said that, those courses are amazing. So Catherine Kehoe, I'm so sorry. I'm like, my mind is like just an empty void when I'm painting. But yeah, so AJ has taken courses from Zoe Frank and Catherine Kehoe, and she said that they're incredible. Yeah, but again, these are great painters and great, teachers. They're able to communicate their knowledge, through their online courses. So that's so cool. I mean, it is right there. It is available to you should you want it. And if you can afford it, because yeah, it's also an investment, and you have to, these courses are not free, so you have to like invest in them, and then a lot of what you get from them depends also on what you put into them. So you have to have like full commitment if you want any of this to work. So yeah.
¿Conoces a la modelo que estás pintando?
¿Quién pregunta?
Se llama...
¿Mi hermana?
No, Asunta Rodríguez.
Asunta Rodríguez. Hola, Asunta. Sí, es mi mamá. Es mi mamá. Es mi querida madre. Mi hermosa madre. ¿Parece Asunta? Asunta, es que yo tenía en mi colegio había una monja. Eres la segunda Asunta que yo he tenido en mi vida. En mi colegio había una monja que era Sister Asunta. Entonces me dio...
¿Sister le decía?
Sí, Sister, como hermana Asunta.
¿Pero en inglés?
Le teníamos que decir en inglés porque eran monjas gringas.
What governs your exhibitions? Do you try to think of a narrative, or are they a collection of things you just found interesting to paint up to that point?
No, usually when I was far more conscious about exhibiting, and exhibiting, in the very kind of traditional sense of exhibiting, yeah, they usually responded to very specific themes. But no, even now, I mean, the small exhibition that I just did last month was about, rest and the sense of space and closeness that, kind of governs everything now. So yeah, there's always like a through line. I think that's the better way to deal with a show. But again, there's so many ways to do this that I wouldn't dare say that's the only way to tackle a show. A lot of people have very, very different approaches, and whatever works for them. But yeah, if looking back, I think I had in my career, I've had bigger shows. I've probably had solo shows, maybe 6 or 7 big solo shows. Not much, because you have to work so hard on them. You end up working like maybe a year and a half on those shows. So they do take time, and it's not like every year and a half you can have another show. So yeah, I think I've had in my career 6 maybe, and they always had like specific themes. So yeah, that helped me, I think, organize my brain as to how to approach what I was doing, with every show.
Hi Dani, Nico, ¿conoces a Alex Kanevsky y has visto sus cuadros en vivo?
Sí, las dos, sí, y es un genio, sí.
¿Qué tal la experiencia? ¿Tienen alguno en casa o imposible tener uno?
No, creo que Alex es súper querido. O sea, creo que si me metiera a molestarlo mucho para que me cambiara algo, no comprado, porque creo que la plata no me alcanza para comprar un cuadro de él, pero creo que cambiado sí intercambiaría conmigo. Él es muy amable, pero no tenemos. Pero sí lo conozco y conozco la obra de él, y es un monstruo, es un genio, es súper amable. Creo que afectó muchísimo a toda una generación de pintores, seguramente sigue afectando a toda una generación de pintores. Entonces es muy chévere, muy chévere. Una vez, una anécdota, él fue jurado en una exposición de, soné así como hogar geriátrico, me enderecé en la silla y una vez hubo una exposición, hay una exposición en España que es toda famosa, pero pues grande, que se llama Figurativas, y él fue jurado en esa versión de esa exposición, y esa exposición, si no estoy mal, es cada 2 años. Y, o sea, yo dije, uy, Alex es jurado, yo entré, obviamente, yo ya gané, ya me estaba yo gastando la plata como un idiota en mi cabeza, o sea, yo era ya, chao, gané, me va a ayudar, o sea, full, todo bien, Alex, gracias. No, ni pasé, o sea, ni siquiera pasé la ronda inicial. Pero Alex fue divino porque él me escribió cuando juzgó mi cuadro y me puso, oiga, vi su cuadro, a mí me encantó y yo voté por él. Cuando me escribió solo eso, yo ya supe como, ah, no, pues qué chimba, pero yo ya no pasé. Pero me escribió súper como paternal, así, oiga, a mí me encantó, a mí me encantó, pero fue súper bonito. Y ahí supe que pues ya pérdidas todo, pérdidas después de eso.
I love the week. I loved that week of the bathroom where you said something like that the mood was the main subject of the paintings. Are other elements than the lighting?
A ver.
No, es que no tengo gafas y no
Ah.
las he traído ningún día.
Sí,
Are
claro.
other elements than the lighting that can translate mood in a painting?
Yeah, I guess sensibly, the way sensibly you digest, whatever you're looking at can also be very, very moody. You can completely understand that as something that is overarching, because usually mood or atmosphere can translate into quite abstract things, but what it does speak about is that in terms of hierarchy, there's something that is above everything else and that is affecting everything else. It's affecting the way everything else is being kind of read and understood. So yeah, I wouldn't. I think it formally can be translated into atmosphere, because that's something that we can kind of see easily exemplified through paint, but it doesn't necessarily have to solely be that. Not at all. I think it has. I think you can also speak about the way you are sensibly just perceiving something, and that that can also be understood as atmosphere or mood.
Check on Instagram a Brazilian contemporary painter Marcela Cantauria. She's really good and her work is a lot political.
Oh, thank you. No, I don't know her work, but I will check her out for sure.
AJ dice Catherine Keogh.
Oh, thank you, AJ. Yeah, that took you what, like 40 minutes? Thank you for saving my butt.
Perdón.
That was my brain fart. Like, I totally went blank.
¿Le gusta la pintura de Justin
Bieber.
Mortimer? Mortimer?
Bieber.
Sí.
Sí. En español preguntaban, sí.
Sí.
Sí. Él era vecino de taller de Phil Hale, o es todavía de pronto. Y por eso es que pintan más o menos parecido. Cal lo conoció. Cal es un amigo pintor aquí colombiano, fantástico. Chequen la obra de Cal. Cal lo conoció, yo no lo he conocido personalmente, pero sí tiene como esa, sí tiene ese aire a Phil Hale un poquito, y es porque son como almas así muy, muy pares. Y sí, es muy chévere, es muy, muy chévere. Ahorita hace como esas flores Gerhard Richterescas más o menos, y son chéveres. A mí me gusta más, pues bueno, no, a mí, ¿sabe qué me encanta de él? Como me encanta el Justin Mortimer retratista. Se me hace fantástico. Yo sé que hay otra obra de él que es como súper, no sé cómo describirla, pero son todas estas personas en esos trajes que se usan como hazmat, y pues obviamente hoy en día eso se siente como súper actual, pero siempre es como esa especie de collage pintado, muy chévere, muy chévere. Pero sí, sí, hice ese ojo, puta, hice ese ojo y no sé por qué lo hice. Como que no quería hacer el ojo y dije, ay, hagamos el ojo. Pero no quería, qué berraco. Ah, qué pena. I'm just cursing because I didn't want to paint the eye, and because it's a stupid eye, I painted the eye, and now I'm like, why did I paint the eye if I didn't want to paint an eye? And now I have to solve it better because it's not cool, it's not working. So I have to make it better. So we'll see.
Oye, Nico, en ese concurso de figurativas que organiza el MEAM, por
Sí,
ejemplo,
sí.
yo vivo en México, pero ¿cómo se lleva a cabo uno de estos concursos? ¿Lo envías con bastidor o cómo enviaste tu pintura? ¿Sale caro hacer el envío y cómo lo traes de vuelta?
Pues aquí está Dani, que me ayudó muchísimo a esa parte, porque digamos que en mi experiencia anterior a esa había sido con el BP, el premio BP, que seguramente también lo conoces, el que hacen en el Reino Unido. Y esa vez pues yo pasé a las rondas donde juzgaban la pintura en físico, entonces tuve que mandar la pintura y fue costosísimo. También recaí en personas que me ayudaron resto a hacer toda la logística de recibir el cuadro. Yo no los enmarqué, pero sí los tuve que poner en bastidores, pero pues para que me saliera costoso lo que hice fue mandar el tubo. Y en esa ocasión del MEAM, una tía de Dani vive en Barcelona, entonces se lo mandamos, fue a ella y ella nos hizo el favor de ponerle bastidor, de que le pusieran bastidores.
La cuñada.
Sí.
Tiene una tienda donde ponen.
Exacto, entonces teníamos como una manera de ponerle bastidores y montarlo. No tienen que estar enmarcados, eso no lo piden ellos, no lo pide ningún concurso. Tienen que estar es como montados. Entonces, digamos que eso aminoró el costo, pero igual mandar una pintura así sea en un tubo por FedEx es costosísimo. O sea, seguramente si tú lo preguntas es porque ya sabes que esos costos son tenaces. Entonces, sí, difícil. Nos fue difícil, y cuando entonces uno ni siquiera pasa a la ronda donde lo van a juzgar a uno, pues la rabia es grandísima, porque uno dice, como un idiota, cuánta plata invertí en esto, jurando que iba a pasar, y ahí es cuando uno también manda todo como a la shit, porque uno dice, ¿para qué le doy? Porque obviamente uno se siente horrible cuando no pasa, entonces uno después viene toda esa etapa de yo para qué le doy a estos concursos el poder de validarme y de que me importen tanto, no me importan, toda la mierda, pero sí, son etapas de duelo grandes después de eso, y ya. No sé si mi mamá parece mirando a un lado y si esta manchita parece que estuviera mirando para allá, como si estuviera visca, más o menos, como con los ojos, ¿cómo se ve ahí, Dani?
Pues de
¿Sí?
pronto sí un poquito.
De pronto sí un poquito, eso es un sí 3 veces.
No, pero eso ya ayuda mucho. Es que sí parecía como...
Pero es que no quería hacer eso, es que no quiero... Fuck.
Have you tried doing any murals? No sé si se dice.
No.
O graffiti.
No, I'm missing that in my life. Like I'm missing that experience, I feel. I really should try it. But I haven't. I admire the people that do them. I mean, that's an amazing life.
Ese pincel amarillo es de los baratos y buenos, ¿cierto?
Es de los baratos y buenos, sí. Sí, 100%. Pues no son buenos, son re chirris, son horribles, pero pues le tratamos de darles buen uso, más bien, digamos.
Están dando como,
Madre.
están haciendo comentarios.
¿De qué?
Justin Mortimer y el cosito de que es más que Justin Bieber. Justin Case, dijo alguien.
Pésimo. El que dijo Justin Case, chao, gracias. Se va saliendo.
Hey, that's your mom's eye you're talking about. Chévere, Nicolás. Asunta Rodríguez te dice que es de Alicante.
Ah,
Me preguntaste que no sabías de dónde era.
sí, muy lindo. Muy religioso el nombre, se me hace. No sé si en España también como que tenga ese carácter, pero
I'm fairly new to oil painting and Instagram, and I'm a terrible photographer. Any tips for avoiding glare when photographing an oil painting?
so we use indirect lighting, so we don't shine any light onto the painting, directly onto the painting. Not that that's bad, it just makes everything kind of difficult. And we use a polarizing filter on our lens, and that actually helps a lot. So those would be the two things that are somewhat important if you're trying to photograph your work. If you don't have like an elaborate lighting setup, which you don't really need, trust me, but you need the light to be indirect. You need, a lot of a space where light can actually kind of flood it. So there's available light, so everything is not just super dark. But you also need to be aware that because it's oil, oils are always going to be kind of like a reflective surface. So you need to take that into consideration and use a polarizing filter if you want to eliminate as much glare as you can.
Lucas Valencia pregunta ¿qué medio estás usando?
Ninguno, hoy no usamos nada. Hoy digamos que parte del reto era no usar absolutamente nada de medio. Entonces el medio normalmente lo pongo acá y mira, está todo reseco, pero si quieres volver a ver el comienzo de la imagen te vas a dar cuenta que empezamos así de lleno con la pintura pura, solo pintura.
Ahora no hay más.
Yeah, I tried to push kind of further with the kind of specifics of the portrait. I was very hesitant to do that for some reason. I was liking the portrait in the kind of vague, area that it was living in, I would say. But as soon as I started, I was like, okay, I guess I'm moving into specifics. I always avoid them for as much as I can. I mean, I know that there'll be a time where I have to go towards, more specific, smaller detail and information. But I always try to abstain myself from painting it for the longest time. And I think the reason is just that I'm not particularly comfortable with like the smaller brushes. Smaller brushes like these are always prone to me making like just dumb drawing mistakes, and I don't want that. No sé, no me gusta. I don't know if I liked anything that I did in the last like 5 minutes.
¿Con qué? ¿Con el ojo?
Con todo. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not. That always happens with me. Like, I'm always more comfortable with the less I say, and every time I try to say more, then I realize that I'm losing some of the things that can be evoked when I say less, and it just pisses me off that I sacrifice those things just for the sake of apparently taking the painting forward. Makes me mad.
Alguien dijo, I like it, bro.
Oh, thank you.
Hola Nicolás, su merced trabaja por encargos. ¿Cómo ha sido la experiencia con ellos?
No, si debo ser honesto, ahorita no mucho, porque es que honestamente no nos queda tiempo. O sea, trabajamos casi todo el día, todos los días. Entonces es súper, súper difícil. Y muchas gracias por el interés, muy amable. Pero sí, se nos dificulta el resto, digamos, en nuestro día a día. Es la verdad.
At what time do you upload your paintings in your website?
Usually, like the daily ones, like at 7:30 in the morning. That's our regular time. These ones, we put them up like about half hour after we're done, because I have to kind of finish up, clean up, and then take a photo and edit it and then upload it. So if you like this painting, it'll be up about half hour after we finish. And I think we are, ¿qué horas son, Linda?
5:02.
Yeah, I think we are very close to finishing this session, because we started early today, because we are going, in a second, we're going to my mother's for like a Christmas sort of celebration dinner, something like that. So but I'm not going to leave the painting in a state where I'm not comfortable with. That, for sure, is not going to happen.
¿Cómo se dice novenas en inglés?
No existe.
¿No?
Pues hay una cosa que es novena, pero no es lo mismo. Pero eso no existe. La novena es como ecuatoriana y colombiana y ya.
¿En serio? Yo creo
Que todo el mundo les rezaba
todo
novenas.
El mundo, pero
No.
en todos los países como...
No, que la nanita nana era universal. La nanita nana
Es así, no, ni el burrito.
la oye todo el mundo en Spotify.
No, están mandando saludos.
Muchos saludos.
También hace como 2 horas, pero
No, pues gracias.
dijeron, cuando dijiste lo del descanso, dijeron que te tomaras el tiempo que necesitaras. Muchas personas.
Pero pues la gente es muy linda, pero igual nos toca trabajar.
Tenemos cómo pagar
Sí.
los recibos.
Sí, si paramos de trabajar, pues el próximo en vivo es, hola, estamos pintando el andén. Ay, ¿por qué? ¿Urbano? No, porque aquí está mi cama ahorita. Nos sacaron
Sí, no.
un mes sin pagar arriendo y chao.
La persona que preguntó lo de la hora en la que subes las pinturas dijo,
Sí.
Thank you, I really wish to have this painting, looks absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. No, como que te digan a ti, ¿no? Pero,
Oh, lo voy a tomar. Thank you. Yeah. Ya, próxima pregunta. Próxima.
I'm not sure if you have spoke about this before, but did you study with Marshall
Erisman?
Erisman?
No. He was there before I went to school. He was like the legend that was there before I went to school. And like Robert Weaver was there also before. But yeah. I didn't have the chance, unfortunately. But they are like legends there.
What do you think of glazing?
Have no issues with it, none at all whatsoever. But obviously, it's something that I can't really do with this sort of painting. So
tell us an embarrassing episode just to finish with a laugh. Some drunk anecdote or something like that.
oh no. The first time that I think I've told this, but the first time that I was hired to do a workshop, this university hired me, and I was supposed to do this demo, and I was feeling like I was fucking hotshot painter, and this was quite a bit ago, so I hope I've gotten better, but so I told myself anything that they can throw at me, like I can handle. Like, my philosophy is be like River, and I can take it. I'm not going to be surprised by anything. I'm totally fine. I'm totally cool. I can deal with anything they throw at me. So I didn't even bring like a surface to paint on. I was like, yeah, no, I'll just get something there. And I think while I was there, just a student there, because this was in an MFA program, a student there was like, oh, I have, these surfaces. And I'm like, oh, any will do. That's totally fine. And they had a clayboard. And I was like, I've never painted on clayboard. I can totally paint on clayboard like cake. I'm like River. I can just make decisions, on the fly. I can adjust. I know myself. Like, this is super easy for me. Dude, there was like bleachers that they had set out so that people could watch me paint, and it was full. Like, the bleachers were full. And I didn't know this when I got there. I was like, what is this audience? Like, I thought it was going to be like a stupid, painting class, and that was it. Not that they were stupid, but I thought it was going to be like a small thing. I was feeling stupid at that moment. And when I saw those people, I was like, okay, just, put your, A game on and just, try to do a kick-ass painting. Come on, let's go. And I started painting, and this fucking surface, the clayboard, it started sucking my painting like crazy. I mean, of course I've used clayboard, ever since, after that, but at that moment I had never used it. And this was all painting from life. So the model was there, and I had gotten there, maybe the night before. But I started painting, and that thing that I was saying, a little bit ago, that I'm super shy, and I'm sure that right then and there, I was probably like blushing like crazy. I'm already flushed and sweating. I run hot, so I'm certain that the room temperature just rose a couple of degrees just because I was like, what the fuck am I doing? This is terrible. Like, it really, really felt like a horrible painting. Nothing was coming out. Nothing. Like, today I struggled with this painting, and I know I've been hacking at it for a little bit, but no, this is gorgeous compared to what I was doing back then. And people started walking out. People were like, okay, we clearly went into the, this is not the right room. Like, people literally just walked out after about an hour. And when I looked back, because I was super nervous, so I wasn't really looking at the audience. When I looked back, it was empty. It was like only the, some of the students that I guess had to be there, because the teachers were probably like, you guys have to endure this. Like, this is this trash fire, it just, you guys have to be there. We paid for this guy, so you guys have to just look at this guy just crash and burn. And I don't know, I felt like such an idiot that day. I mean, I pulled through, and I ended up doing a dumb, stupid painting. But everyone was telling me, and this is why I was saying that, when I got there, because everyone was like, oh, you're probably jet lagged. And I was like, what jet lag? Like, there's no, like, this is the same, this is the same time that I have, back home. Back home, we would be at exactly the same time. The flight was like, what, 4 hours long? It's not like I had to sleep on a plane. So in my mind, I was like, okay, people now are just being nice to me. Like, this is pathetic. This is turning to be absolutely pathetic. And, it was a horrible experience. Like, it sucked. I have to say, it really sucked. And it is one of the worst things that I have ever felt in my life. And it was public. And there was no way of hiding how bad I was feeling and how bad I painted, because it was just evident to every single person that was there. But, what it taught me was that I can't be cocky and I can't be an idiot, like saying, hey, yeah, I can paint on anything. I have to be mindful when I'm painting. And nowadays, because I told myself, okay, this is never ever going to happen to me again. Nowadays, I still believe that if you gave me a piece of rock and you told me to paint on it, like, I would find my way. I'm certain of it. I would find like a way to navigate that piece of rock and to try to tell myself how to adjust. But I just didn't have that experience or that confidence back then. So in the end, it was just this horrible experience. That was just public. It was 100% public, but it made me stronger, I feel. And nothing like that has happened ever since. But I think I needed that, moment to just tell myself, okay, you cocky little shit. Like, of course you can't do this. Like, you're not this good. You can't do this. Don't believe for a second that you're this good. Just be ready, be mindful, be present, and just do a better job, if you have another chance. So I'm very grateful that eventually, I've taught, dozens of workshops ever since, but I've always taken them seriously so that I know that I have to be super ready. So I think we're gonna call it for today. I think it's very nice. Eventually I was able to suggest some specificity up in my mother's portrait. Oh my God, look at my hands. Jesus. This is the hand that holds like brushes for 3 hours. But so I think we got there. There's a lot of oneness to all of this. A lot of the sacrificing of the value that I talked about at the beginning. I think it's there. We lowered the contrast that would have been super evident with the super light background. So I'm happy about that. There's suggestions of all little specific kind of breaks in design in her scarf. So I like that too. You can sense the hands. I'm always, far more willing to just block in a pair of hands that don't feel like anything, but kind of, there's nothing there, but it just kind of feels like, these interlaced fingers. So I like that. I like the choices that I made for like the wrinkles on the sweater. Just the folds are kind of nice. Yeah, so it's nice. And it feels like my mother. So I can actually, my mother is calling me right now. Should we put her on? No, maybe see. No. This is like. Okay, no. So we're not gonna. She's bound to say something terrible. So no. But yeah, I'm very happy. I'm super happy. Let's see what she says. Let me see. ¿Aló? Un momento. ¿Aló? Olgis, ¿cómo estás? Mi Olgis divina, ¿cómo estás? Hola.
Mi amor, que si ya vienen.
¿Estás viendo la pintura que te hice o no?
Claro, primor, Olguita, ¿no viste que yo te escribí?
No, señora. ¿Qué piensas de ella? ¿Te gustó?
Me fascinó, mi amor. Me fascinó.
¿Sí?
Lo que pasa es que estaba ahorita, no te había escrito nada.
Sí, no vayas a decir que estabas como en el baño. No.
Las cositas de la novena.
Ah, bueno, la novena. Entonces, bueno, ahorita. Sí, ya acabo de acabar mi Olgis, entonces ya ahorita vamos para allá. Bueno,
no lleguen tan tarde.
No, señora. No, señora, Olguita divina. No.
Gracias.
Bueno, mi Olguita. Ciao. Bueno. Bueno, that was my mother. So that's my mother telling me if we have left already. So we have to finish because my mother was on the phone and she wants us to leave. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys. I'm super happy with how it came out. So thank you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day of 2020 for us. So join us. Thank you guys. Bye.